My signal, well, nobody's watching anyway. So let me go here. All right. So I'm muted on YouTube now. And I apologize for the really, really weak signal I have right now. I'm going to hope that it gets a little stronger. I've had some Wi-Fi issues where my Wi-Fi cuts out, and my modem just automatically like reboots itself. So to preempt that, I rebooted my modem ahead of time, hoping that will take care of that. But then again, fair warning, my modem at any time might decide to do this on its own. Probably time for me to replace my modem. But hey, we're going here, and we'll wait a few minutes for some people. Our the usual suspects to show up to participate today. As you can see down there, it is the year 2010 in music. This time I decided to go with just 1 year. And all right, Chris, I'll be sending out the link here shortly. I'll just get some preliminary things, done out of the way. Rob Walker had, the vinyl tag for 2022. And good morning, John. Welcome to the stream. And, one of the questions or prompts was, I think, something about a disappointment from 2022. And what I showed was a record that, I was just kind of disappointed in that it didn't meet my expectations. But there was another disappointment, and that was because it was a terrible pressing. And I don't know if anybody else, had this same issue, but I pre-ordered the reissue of Jesus Jones, so which was a 1991 release. This is Doubt, and I really, really like the record. I have it on CD. So I ordered this, pre-ordered this, and it did come, and it came on this very nice orange transparent vinyl. The problem is that it sounds awful. I mean, it almost, it's not unlistenable, but it's a terrible pressing. And I really do think, considering this was 1991, this was early CD years, early digital years, and they were often with those early CDs, everything was like super, super compressed. And I think, to me, it seems like that's what happened. Hey, Jason, yep, we'll be ready for you when that time comes. But anyway, that's what it sounds like. That they just they didn't use the master and remaster it. There's no indication that there was any remastering or re-engineering going on. It's like they just took a CD and recorded off the CD and then pressed that onto vinyl. So that was what I wanted to mention, that this was this reissue, and it's a 2022 reissue of a really good album. Very disappointing. I am really disappointed with it. And I know they had, they were releasing also another one of Jesus Jones records, and I don't recall the name of it. I think it was the album that came like maybe after Doubt. But anyway, I didn't order that one, and probably it was a good idea, but just curious if anyone else had ordered that record and, the same issue with it just being a very terrible pressing. Another thing that kind of recently came out. A colleague and I were talking. We were chatting online, and she is I guess you could say a former Mormon. I don't think she considers herself a. She didn't consider. I don't think she considers herself a member of the church anymore, an LDS member. But I mentioned, the very first article that I ever published was about a Native American church that followed the Mormon dietary law as outlined in the article, the covenants, the Doctrine and Covenants. And she wanted to, she was interested in reading the article. I dug it up. I found a photocopy. I mean, I have the original magazine. I have one copy of the original magazine that this appeared in, but this is the very first article I ever published. Okay. The Psychedelic Church. Can worshipers legally use a controlled substance in their ritual? This church is a Native American church and was using peyote as a sacrament, but they also had non-Indian members. And that was the issue, the legal issue that I guess after I wrote this article, it did get to the Supreme Court, and it was Justice Scalia at the time who I believe wrote the opinion that for quite a while, the church, Native American church, was allowed to procure and use peyote, but I think they kind of said, no, you're not protected by freedom of religion to do this because it's a controlled substance, something like that. I think that has changed since, but anyway, because I wrote this in 1983. This was published in 1983. It's just a 2-page article, and the photos are, I took the photos. So, there's the sacrament, the peyote drying in the greenhouse. It's the house that was on the property. This is one of the members. They generate income for the church buying or making pottery. And if you are into pottery, the guy, he's no longer alive, but the person who started this, his name is Mana. And Mana pottery is very collectible, very sought after, very beautiful pottery. They gave me a piece that it was misshapen. It was a bowl that was slightly misshapen, but it was a beautiful piece with these two lizards, face to tail, surrounding a peyote button in the middle, and just really beautiful glaze, etc. And I gave that to my mother. And then when I noticed when she died, that bowl was gone. It disappeared. So I don't know if she broke it or it got broken, I should say, and, thrown away, or one of my siblings maybe absconded with it. I don't know. So I better send the link out because, as I said, I'm still having a really shitty signal. And sometimes, at least the visual of me improves when other people come up on there. I'm very, I can see that I'm very pixelated on the YouTube channel. But at least it's not, it's buffering properly. So that appears to be, doing okay. So I apologize to all of you that, things are a little shaky with my Wi-Fi. And here we have Chris from Record Talk. Hello, Chris. I better turn. Do I have my volume up so I can even hear you? Yeah, I do.
Okay, hey, how are you doing? Yeah, I probably need to turn a light on, or should I be in the dark?
Um,
There we go. All
yeah,
right.
that's better. It wasn't bad when you didn't have the light on. Just that the bill of your cap was
Yeah,
really casting
I
a
guess
big shadow.
I guess I could have taken my hat off, but I didn't. So yeah, so I've got about I think 8 records. They're about halfway split between CDs and vinyl for 2010.
Yeah, I probably have actually fewer than that. I mean, I've got a couple CDs, and then I got about let's see, yeah, maybe 5 or 6 records. Jason, I know, intends to join us, and he says he's going to have a lot of stuff from 2010, which would be great. But with the ones that I do have, I got plenty to say about each one because they're all of them are very cool recordings, and especially one that I'm going to save for last because it's a recording by a band that band fans do not list very highly in that band's catalog, and in fact, often tell other people just skip that record, don't even bother buying it, which is interesting because
So you're going to be the contrarian.
yeah, I really like this release, although there are a number of issues with it that bug me. And it was the first record I ever got by them, but I really like this release. And I recently watched a video where somebody else talks about um, this release and how it was kind of hated by fans. But he had a really interesting backstory about what was going on with it. So, anyway, we'll get to that. Yeah, you'll have to watch all the way to the end, everyone. All 4 of you out there, or I should say, all 2 of you, because 2 of us are on stage right now. so, so how was uh, in general 2022 for you and your record collecting?
I mean, seemed to be a decent enough year. I mean, I did the vinyl tag like everybody did.
Yeah, yeah.
I found some good stuff. I bought something I'm going to do less of this year is I bought a lot of 45s last year because I got really into like the digging thing, and I've accumulated too many of them. I'm going to be that's my one of my resolutions is I'm going to be choosier about
Yeah,
buying
the
stuff.
I don't. Hi Ed. I don't pick up many 45s either. I mean, I prefer the 12-inch singles,
Yeah.
and but I over the last several years, I have enough that I think I'm going to buy one of those 45 boxes, that with the flip lid and latch and all that, to store them in.
Oh, you have so few you could store yours in one of those boxes.
And yeah, and still
Yeah,
have room to grow.
yeah. I got way beyond that point.
Yeah, and I like all the singles that I got. Some of them were gifted to me recently by
Yeah.
Jason, um,
I,
but yeah, they are.
well, I realized I was getting to the point where it was more like collecting like baseball cards or stamps, and that I was accumulating them faster than I could listen to them. And I'd buy a lot of stuff that'd be like, oh, I heard that song back on the radio when I was a kid, and it's like it's cheap and I'll buy it. This is not something I'd ever buy an album of, and I bought too much stuff like that. So
Yeah. Um, okay, so Rob, it's right there at the bottom of the screen. Okay, so you can see what our topic is today. Um,
yeah, this is just preliminary ramble.
yeah,
Rob.
right. As people come on, One of the, and what was I going to say? There are still some singles, 7-inch singles that I would like to get though. I would like to get, and they're not too pricey. Some of them are. Oh, Jesus, oh, 2 8-foot shelves full of 45s. Yeah. Yes, we are including EPs because I have one of the items I'm going to show today, Rob, is an EP. But anyway, I would like to get both the Japanese and the U.S. 7-inch single release of Q Sakamoto's. In America, it was marketed as Sukiyaki. 1960s, international smash hit. I have a vinyl LP that has that song on it. But I would, because as a kid, we did have that in the house, and for a while I had that 45. But all those 45s that I sort of inherited from my siblings as a kid, none of them were in sleeves. And so storage, because they were just all kind of stored loose and on top of each other. They continued to get marred and whatever. People are going to, make sure you're sitting down when I say this. Okay. I mean, I had probably a stack of 7-inch singles, like this. That included the Cowsills, Paul Revere and the Raiders, Nancy Sinatra, just a lot of the stuff that was, going on from like 1960 to 1966. I threw them away. I just threw them away. Chucked them into a trash bin. I even had one of the most annoying singles of all, Snoopy versus the Red Baron. You remember that? With the Royal Kingsman, I think it was it was called. Singles are there, but there are some. Oh, I would like to get the Green Manalishi. Because you really can't get that unless you get a Fleetwood Mac live recording in which they played that during a show. I had Chipmunks 7-inch singles. I appreciate your offer, but please, you don't really need to send that to me. In fact, I have a burned CD of Canned Heat doing Christmas songs with Elvin and the Chipmunks, which I hardly ever listen to. So, as they say, perhaps out of my wheelhouse. So yeah, I'm not like completely against 45s. Or I should say 7 inches, but I'm not. I don't want to become a collector.
Yeah.
I would prefer to find. They do some great anthologies and compilations of old hits that are only available as singles. And when I find one of those once in a while, that's cool to have because there are some great compilations that are out there to put together.
Yeah. I mean, I know we use the term 45, and usually when they're major labels, the 7-inch records are always 45. But like with like punk and indie records, sometimes I'll have like one of those records that won't say what speed it is, and it's sometimes they're 33, sometimes they're 45.
Exactly. And then the weird thing is some of them sound okay at either speed, depending on what kind of music it is. But I hate that when I get an EP and a 12-inch that it doesn't identify clearly either on the label, not even on the label, on the
Yeah.
on the record. And then I start playing it, and then I'm going, "What the hell is this?"
Yeah.
And then I have to look it up in Discogs to see what speed it is, and then I'll make a little card and drop it in with the cover so that I remember. You
No,
know,
I haven't gone to that. I'm just I'll figure it out once I play it. I have this one like noise record, which and I have a turntable where you can adjust the speed a bit. I think this record actually sounds the best about halfway between 33 and 45.
right? Yeah. So that would be the ones with the strobe, the direct drives that have the
Yeah.
strobe. Yeah, so that you can adjust the speed. Yeah, I remember those were pretty popular. In fact, when I was in college in the mid '70s, a lot of people had Techniques had I think it was Techniques. There were
Yeah.
a couple pretty common turntables that were direct drive with the strobes on the side that everybody.
Yeah, well,
I
I have
think
an Audio Technica table, so it's basically it's like a Techniques wannabe. So
um, but yeah, I remember I've always wanted when I always thought that I would like to upgrade my turntable to a Thorens or a dual vintage table. But apparently they started manufacturing new turntables that are really good, both Thorens and dual. But I've actually been pretty happy with my Fluence. It's worked out really well. I just bought a better um, cartridge and stylus than the one that it came with, and it sounds
yeah.
super. Um, 35 or 50, boy, that would be a weird speed. Um, yes, Rob, 2010 was a decent year. So yeah, I have several records that I can and show, and I think you were just saying that you had a few. So and when Jason joins us, we can certainly let him show more than one at a time because uh, he he was like warning that he has quite a few. That was a big year, especially in the dance and dance and house and techno scene. Although I wasn't doing the clubs anymore about that time, was I? Because I moved. I was still going out a little bit, but yeah, there wasn't. Yeah, I wasn't that familiar with the dance and house seat. Um, Actually, I think Car Seat Headrest's first vinyl release, Twin Fantasy, was 2011, not 2010. So what they had released in 2010 is still only available electronically. Um, and I have those. I have How to Leave Town and I have Nervous Young Man. Um, I can't remember which of those are from 2010. When somebody else is talking, I'll look that up and see. But anyway, um, was this an LP mispressing that angers me greatly? It was supposed to be a Killing Joke record and is on one side. The B side is the Statler Brothers. Um, yeah, that would be a freak mispressing. Uh,
We call that a split record.
yeah, and there are many singles that are out there that are
That are
intended to be that. Yeah,
right.
that it is split. But I once bought a record brand new sealed, and it was a Blue Note record, but it had the wrong record inside it.
Yeah.
And what was weird is I took it back and got another one, and it was sealed, and it also had the same wrong record in it. So I just got the refund and bought a different record. And then I went to a different record store in Chicago, and the same thing happened. No, I had ordered it from Amazon. Same thing happened. I got the same wrong record, and it took me a while before I finally found it was a oh shit, who is it I'm thinking of? Was it Sonny Rollins or was it not Sonny Rollins? Some jazz. Saxophone player.
They were putting Henry Rollins in the Sonny Rollins.
No. Yeah, it was. I didn't grab it, but I finally found a brand new sealed copy that when I went up to the counter, I said, "Can I open it here? Because, here's my experience." And they said, "Oh, yeah, sure." And I opened it and pulled it out. Finally, the right record. So they must have shipped, an entire bulk of records in which somebody was putting the wrong record into the sleeve. So there was that kind of a mismatch. Now, that's not necessarily something that you could put a value on like you can with other things that are like that record that he was talking about earlier, that the wrong, it had something on the flip side that was unintended. That's something, especially if you have the cover that, whatever. I think that's something that could become a rarity and actually have some value to it to collectors. Because like stamp collectors used to, if the plate got printed upside down, and before they caught it, and fixed the stamp, those that went out with the upside down image were very, very collectible.
I haven't collected stamps since I was a kid, but I remember, I think one of the most valuable stamps was one that had it's a picture of an airplane the airplane was flipped upside down. I think that was one of the most valuable ones. It's from early 20th century. So,
but now that when that happens, they print so many of them, that the collectible value of those misprinted stamps is zero. But if it's a stamp from before 1965 and it was an inverted image, they never printed, I don't think they ever printed the correct image. So those were the only stamps that were out there. They caught on when people came back and started buying multiple sheets of the same thing. All right. So, Jason, the link is out there whenever you're ready to join. But I think, let me see, I'll just go ahead and put it there again for you. And let's, he's warning us that the quality of what he's going to show us is going to be, a little on the iffy side here. All right. He's treading on thin water here. Thin water? No, thin ice. That's what I mean. But hey, we go ahead and get started. What do you want to start us off with there?
Oh, okay. So I'm going to start with the CD. So I'm going to get this out of the way. So
make you big here.
All right. So
Juliana Hatfield. I'm so surprised.
Okay. So we know the deal is that I'm a big fan of hers, and she puts out an album about every year. And I'll be honest, this is my least favorite of her albums. So basically the deal with this album is that it was completely done by her. Composed, arranged, performed, produced, engineered, and mixed by Juliana Hatfield, but it was something she recorded at home. It's almost all just her singing songs and playing acoustic guitar. It's too much coffee house folk. I want her with an electric guitar and a band and some more melodic, catchy tunes. There's a couple decent tunes on here, but it's even with your favorites, there's always the one that's your least favorite of the batch. So I'm just getting that out of the way early.
Well, that's so true, especially if they have a really big catalog. They're bound to put out a clunker.
Yeah.
And it's like that in the publishing world too, that you can have really, really great writers, great novelists who crank out a lot of novels, but then once in a while they crank out some garbage, mostly because they just need a royalty check to live on. So that was a big story about William Faulkner, because I'm a big fan of William Faulkner. And the book, The Wild Palms, was one that he basically wrote just so that he could get something to his publisher and get some money. And it's not a bad book. It's a pretty good book, but it's definitely not old school William Faulkner. I'll start off with a CD as well. And that's because after their first two albums, their next release, everything after that was on CD. They didn't release anything on vinyl anymore. And that is this one, Scissor Sister, Night Work, which was not as good as their the debut album in Tada, but it's still pretty good. The tour, this would have been the first time I saw Scissor Sister, and I went to 3 of their concerts. One of them was when they opened; they were the opening act for Lady Gaga. That was in Boston. And then I saw them twice here in Chicago. I think twice, maybe 3 times. But I like it. A lot of people were disappointed with this one. But I like it. It's not as good as I say as their first 2, but it is definitely was a solid album. A lot more influence, I think, by Elton John on this. But I'm not even sure if he's credited on here with any of the production. That's the problem with CDs, is that all the liner notes are like in super tiny print, and when you wear trifocals, that doesn't always help.
That's the real reason us old men are buying vinyl again.
Yeah, there you go. So we can read that. But have you noticed with some records that even the liner notes that come with LPs are again in like 3-point. The typeset is like 3-point and barely readable.
You know what I find is like when I was a teenager, it's obviously there wasn't any internet then. You didn't have a phone, you didn't have internet. And so it's like if you got an album, even if it was a cassette or if it was an actual album, it's like I would read all that stuff.
Yeah.
And now I have all these like cool reissues that I bought that have booklets and stuff in them. I don't read any of them.
Well, sometimes too, the other, I don't know if you're familiar with the British folk singer who actually developed quite a significant acting career, Johnny Flynn.
No.
No, he has a great album called Alarum. Fantastic album. And it was pressed once on vinyl. It was released on vinyl. And then there were no reissues. And it became a very, very expensive album to buy. I got it on CD. When they reissued it, and I got the reissue, it had, as far as liner notes or anything like that, hardly anything at all. It had, it sounded great. The wax sounded great. It was a well done in terms of the record. It was well done on that front. But when it came to the packaging, in my opinion, they really dropped the ball. My CD, all the liner notes that were in the CD were much more thorough than what they did with that reissue. So, welcome, Jason.
Hey, guys. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
It's another year. We're back.
Yeah.
We've made it around the sun one more time.
We certainly have. How was your holidays, all you guys?
Yeah,
Usual?
yeah,
Fine.
yeah. No big thing.
Good. Big storms there in Chicago. I mean, we had the big storms. So.
We had, and now you see everything's a blur. I mean, after a couple of weeks, I can't remember, when things happen. But we had a minor winter storm. When that big storm swept across the country, this happens a lot. The storm seems to split into two parts when it gets to Chicago.
Right.
And then it's really heavy to the north, and then it's really heavy to the south. And then,
well, you're on the lake. You get the lake effect too.
No, not in Chicago. No, we
No?
don't get. We get lake effect occasionally, but you got to get down. Once you get down by Gary, and then that's where the lake effect really starts. And then definitely on the Michigan coast of Lake Michigan, they get lake effect snow. Like I mean, I remember living in Holland, Michigan. Lake effect was just.
Yeah, because Buffalo had that terrible storm.
Oh, that same storm. Yeah, that
like
just
an ice
dumped
castle.
on them.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh my! And because they're right at the, you've got the entire Lake Erie, in a straight line going right up against, Buffalo, pretty much. That in Erie, Pennsylvania, and all that. So yeah, they get slammed. So it seems like the west sides of the Great Lakes and the south sides of the Great Lakes get the lake effect, but the east shores don't seem to. I don't know. It just seems like the lake effect, because it's just the way the prevailing winds. They're westerly here, so they don't pick up the moisture off the lake. When they come to Chicago, they're just picking up off the dry land. So anyway, enough of weather talk. So
the weather.
we'll talk about weather report and etc. Maybe some other when we have a jazz fusion session.
True.
All right, let's get back with Chris. What do you have coming up for us?
All right, so I'm going to stick with CDs. So this is another one of my favorite sort of singer-songwriters. I believe I showed her album back when we were doing late 90s. So this is Lauren Hoffman. This is a very obscure album known as Interplanetary Traveler. And so you can see the cover. She's taking off her space helmet. I could have used that in the Rob Walker vinyl tag, but I used Tangerine Dream for my spacey record instead. So then, she had her baby like right before she made this album. So there's the picture. And then there's more of the space and that sort of stuff. And sort of like the Juliana record, again, this was a pretty mellow, laid back record. And while it's fine for what it is, I do tend to prefer it when it's a little bit heavier, a little bit less. This one has, she's playing acoustic guitar. There's like cellos on a lot of the songs and that sort of thing. So, but it's got a few cool songs on it. I'm kind of building up to my favorites later on in the show to keep the viewers hanging around. So, hey, Jorgen.
Pacing it, eh?
I'm pacing it, yes. I gave it for those who follow me on Instagram, I did give away a spoiler already.
Oh, yeah. Actually, I made a video of these 2010 picks, but then I uploaded it only in private, and I'm going to release it after this stream.
Oh, okay.
So Calvin's getting the exclusives here, right?
All right. Hey.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God.
Good for the brand. Good for the
That's
brand.
funny. Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, then, if you had, because you were kind of saying that you had a lot. And
I do.
And both Chris and I, we have some, but probably no more than he has perhaps a dozen titles to show. I have less than a dozen. So if you want to show more than one in each round, then
I'll do some batches then, because I got like a batch of like CDs, a batch of sevens, a batch of tapes, a batch of records, couple batches of records. So I'll do like the sevens now. Okay. And then each round I'll do a batch. Okay. I actually did a video a while back, best of 2010, So a few of these were in there, but I've kind of since adjusted that now that I've found more stuff. So thanks, Richard, for making us dig. Yeah, I'll start off with the sevens. I got a little batch here, mostly punk, a couple of different things, though, some synth and metal. Got this one here, which is Destructor. As slightly older guys rocking out the metal from Ohio.
That one guy looks like Alex Jones.
Now, I got to say that this 7 kind of sounds like it looks, like kind of like he's really trying. Anyway, it's a live 7-inch. So, I mean, it's heavy metal done live. It's sloppy, but it's not meant to be sloppy. I don't think it's supposed to be tight. It's supposed to be like traditional heavy metal. Anyway, it's kind of humorous, I guess, more than it is serious. But whatever. It's kind of rare too. You don't actually see a lot of metal 7-inches other than the classics like Motorhead and Black Sabbath, like in the the 70s. But metal bands generally don't do a lot of 7s the way punks do. Speaking of punks, so then I got a couple of punk 7-inches here. Got a little bit of notes on this. So this is Desolation, Rest in Panic. Sick cover. Love the cover art on this thing. This came out obviously in 2010 from San Francisco. This is some San Fran hardcore on the Prank label, which was kind of active.
Do they credit the artist?
No, I don't see anything. I mean, there might be something on the inner sleeve, but it is cool art, eh? Let's see. In the inner sleeve, you have lyrics, which are kind of the usual sort of hardcore punk, railing against society, etc. Society is dying. I don't see any. There's some thanks, so no, I'm not sure who the artist was, but
so I have a question for you, Jason.
Yeah.
Is there a link to their MySpace on there?
I know, right? 2010, eh?
Exactly. I've noticed in like my indie singles, from about 2007, 2008 to about 2011, 2012, almost always has their MySpace link on it. And then after that, then that's gone.
No, for this one, the label info on the back just has their .com website. But by the way, I hold on for that because I do have a MySpace story later. That'll be when I show the CDs, because I think there was like a band who had a whole long rant about how they put up a kind of questionable video on their MySpace and it was taken down by MySpace. So I thought that was kind of humorous since MySpace doesn't exist anymore, really. But then I got this one. This is Glam. Really cool cover there. And this is hardcore from Spain. And this is on the La Vida es en Muse label, which is really new to me. This label here, which is out of the UK, but written in Spanish, La Vida es en Muse. The Life is a Muse, I guess, label. Yeah. They put out a lot of great hardcore punk, from all around. And this one here is from Spain. So I got a bunch of these recently, like in a distro for my my shop from that label.
Actually, this because of the grammatical structure, that translation would be the Muse's life.
Ah, yeah, true, right? The grammar is big in the Latin languages, where you place things. This one is called Fear of Tomorrow. Another cool cover. Looks kind of like crust punk here. What do my notes say on this one? Fear of Tomorrow. This is actually from Canada. This is Vancouver, BC, and it's hardcore punk back in the day, 2010. Some of the members are on other bands now, including one guy who's in a doom metal band now. Got the lyrics. And 2 more here, guys. Oh, sorry, 3 more. I lied. This one I love. This is probably my favorite 7 of the bunch. It's a split. I think I heard you guys talking about splits earlier.
Uh-huh.
This is Hirax and Violator, 2 thrash metal. Again, like I said, you don't get a lot of metal on 7-inch. I do have a lot of flexies, but anyway, it's another story. So thrash, sort of crossover between hardcore and metal. And one group is from the States on this, and the other one's from Brazil. So that was a good find. And last but not least, we got 2 7s that are electronic and synth related. Also kind of rare in this format. So Loom 11 on Artifacts, or the song is maybe called Artifacts. Labels on Desire. I don't know if anybody in the audience knows any of these bands. Tommy was watching earlier. What does he say? Bring MySpace back. Levita have great Finnish hardcore bands. Yes. Anybody heard of Loom 11? This is pretty cool, man. It's kind of like synth pop a little bit. Not much vocals. Like I'd say a cross between synth wave and synth pop. Completely white labels in there. And the other one, the last one there, this is Dominique's K. This one is more techno, this 7-inch. And it's on a Swedish label, I think, called Ideal. So I don't know if is Jorgen joining us?
Jorgen's out there.
Okay, cool. Well, that's my sevens batch. Stay tuned for tapes, CDs, and albums.
Well,
So I actually pulled up my MySpace page and I'm trying to find some 2010 singles. I might show those at some point.
You still have your MySpace page?
Did I say MySpace? I meant I pulled up my Discogs to find my 2010.
yeah, well, I was gonna say they
Brain
even
fart.
support
Oh,
MySpace
Brain
anymore.
fart, exactly. Yes.
We literally are going back to 2010 right now.
Yeah, jeez.
What a year.
And by the way, I said it earlier. I'll say it again. Thank you, Jason, for the stuff that you sent me.
You're welcome.
Of course, I still have not listened to the cassettes yet because I have nothing to play them on. So I'm waiting until I get over to a friend's place to give.
Richard, I think you got to go to a thrift store and just get a little cheap boom box. Just rock them out, man. Lo-fi style. I mean, it's cassette. It doesn't have to be hi-fi.
That's exactly what I did. I have like this Walmart. It's got a cassette deck and a CD. The sound quality is pretty shit, but
yeah. Well, I have sort of.
I'm not serious enough about cassettes to like try to seek out like a good vintage deck. So
I have sort of tape decks. I have tape decks around the house, like different boom boxes and different systems here and there. So I can test.
Yeah, I used to have one because it had a radio. It had a receiver. It was still like in 1980 it would have been, I don't know, $20 or $30 to buy that. But yeah, that's what I would do because there was a radio station in Tucson where I was living that they had a couple new wave and punk shows. And so I would be sitting there with my blank tape, waiting for ready to record what they were playing. So,
I still record, like we have college radio here, right? So like they play really cool shows on there. It's fun to record that stuff.
Yeah.
It's like a time capsule too, right? You find those old mixtapes and you're like, whoa, what was I doing in 2013?
Right. Before I show my next one, Rob had brought up with 2010, potential of car seat headrests. And I went back and I looked at their discography. And 2010 is when Car Seat Headrest issued the numbered releases. This is when Will Toledo cranked out 4 albums in a row. The first one, and they were all just titled by the number, like 1, 2, 3, and 4. Very, very early, very lo-fi. This was material that he entirely recorded he was still in high school and he recorded it in his bedroom. And of course, this is where the name Car Seat Headrest came from, so that he wouldn't disturb his parents. He would go out to his car, drive someplace, and then record the vocals because in some of the vocals, he's like really screaming. But yeah, number 1 was released in May 1st, 2010. Number 2 was released June 1st, 2010. Number 3, that was the record he started. The songs started coming together, and he had because he had been experimenting with everything from backwards tracks, vocal tracks, to a lot of other things, and he was getting better at it. And so number 3 is a decent release. That was July 16th, 2010. And then number 4, which has, I think, a few songs, I haven't listened to it in a long time, that the band plays when they're on tour. and that was released in August 16th, 2010. So yeah, that is when Car Seat Headrest hit the scene, was in 2010. Now the one I'll show is it's the only other CD I have. The rest I'll be showing will be vinyl, and that is Gorillaz. So Plastic Beach, which this comes with a DVD as well, and which, strangely, I haven't watched. I don't think I've watched the DVD. Maybe I have, and I just don't remember. But it's also supposed to have a game, access to an online game, But I do like Plastic Beach. And I do like the crazy artwork that goes with all of, with their releases, and that whole deal that they were going with. And this is probably the last Gorillaz I have. They played Chicago twice, and at the United Center, and I'll go back, because you guys are. I'll go back to my solo layout so that people don't see you guys running around trying to do something. But they have played Chicago twice. Like the inside here of this release. This is to me, the concept of Gorillaz is really quite cool. And but at the same time, I haven't gone to them because I have essentially come to the point where I prefer live shows in smaller venues than big stadiums or whatever. And where Gorillaz was playing was the United Center, which is a basketball hockey arena.
Yep.
And it's question, depending on where you're sitting, how is the sound going to be hitting you because of the echoes and reverberations and all that kind of stuff, in that kind of environment. And the tickets are always so damned expensive.
Yeah.
Congress here in the U.S. really needs to investigate the monopoly. Yes, because that is a serious monopoly that is harming consumers. It is
it's real. It's real. I went to a couple basketball games down in Miami, and I bought all my tickets used, right? It's like you can't even buy the original ticket anymore, right? It's immediately the used market. So
yeah, which it's just empowered scalpers.
Yeah.
We always had the deal.
It makes you think that the companies are in on it, maybe.
Yes, that's
right.
Because they advertise the secondhand market.
Yeah,
when you go to buy, do you want to buy direct or do you want to buy from, another vendor? And I'm like, this is like, excuse my French, but this is fucked up big time.
It's gotten really bad. I'm not really big on big stadium concerts either. Like you said, the seating, the sound. There's a lot of issues that you can have with that. But I haven't been to a stadium show in a while. There was a run where I saw a whole bunch. My wife loves John Mayer, went to see John Mayer. I saw Slayer. I saw Christina Aguilera in the same month. They were both very loud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of screaming.
Yeah. I think the last time I was in a big arena show, I saw Pearl Jam in like 2013 or 14 in a hockey arena. Jack White around the same time. And that was about the point where I decided it's like, I take that back. The most recent one, my metal friends took me to, we saw Iron Maiden in like 2019 in the arena in Nashville. But other than that, I'll be like, if it's more than about 1,000 people or so seating, I don't want to go.
Yeah, if it's an outdoor venue, then I'm okay. If there was something, but even then, the ticket prices are still too high. But, Dead and Company and Pearl Jam, they play Wrigley Field, which is, I can see it out my window. They play that frequently here. So, And then there's another venue, an outdoor venue in downtown Chicago, which I haven't gone to see a show before because I always find out about them too late. But then also Millennium Park has an
Millennium
outdoor
Park,
venue that is great. And then I used to go down. I have gone down to Tinley Park. They have an outdoor venue. I don't have a car anymore, and the only way for me to get there is to drive. Because
is that south in Chicago? Is that where that is? Because I've been to an outdoor thing. I've been to a couple outdoor things in Chicago, but one thing you should definitely check out, Richard, if you ever get a chance, is once a year. It's like called the house. It's like a house music barbecue. And it was like literally a barbecue because people, like families, were bringing like barbecues and cooking outside and the whole thing. And it's like a big house music DJs. It was a massive thing. It was south of Chicago. Like we took the bus all the way from the north through the south side down to some park, and then out in the middle of summer, right?
Okay, I'll
really
Google
cool,
that to see where that
event.
is.
Yeah, it's put on by the chosen. It's put on by the chosen few DJs. And it's like a house music barbecue, or I can't remember what they call it now. But yeah, it's once a year, and they've had Frankie Knuckles at that. They've had like all the old school. Because one thing about Chicago, they love their old school. Because Chicagoans are very aware that they created house music, and so when you go to a house club in Chicago, you will hear the 1980s all night.
Right. Well, I just realized. Oh, here we go. House music barbecue. Oh,
the chosen few.
No, these are restaurants. Google just turned up a bunch of barbecue restaurants.
No, I'll get you the name. I can't remember what they call the event. But Barack Obama once addressed the event too. Like they had him on the screen. He's like, "Of course, I'm from Chicago. Of course, I love house music." That was so cool, man.
I recently learned by listening to I started listening to a few videos of Daft Punk, and then I recently learned how influential Chicago and Detroit, both of those scenes, were on their music. The Detroit Echo and the Chicago House.
Oh yeah, the French guys from France, the Daft Punk guys, they all like stole from Chicago. Well, I mean, they loved it, right? They copied the Chicago stuff.
Right. So I've been listening to more Daft Punk, and I'm kind of going, you know what? It's dated, a lot of it. The sound is kind of dated, but it's still listenable. It's still
okay. Look up. It's called the Chosen Few Picnic, and they actually had the 30th anniversary last July. It's actually in a place called Jackson Park. I don't know if you know Jackson Park.
Yeah, I know where that is. That's right down. That's in Chicago.
It's south.
It's in Hyde Park. Yeah. So right by the Museum of Science and Industry.
My wife and I, we went to this picnic. It was so cool because we're used to, first of all, we're from Canada. So we're used to the rave and the techno scene in Canada. And then we've been to a lot of European festivals. And I've been to Miami. But Chicago's very unique. It's very different. It's much more black, I have to say, right? Like compared to a European dance music festival. And then this food element, because we're like, picnic, like I don't realize, but like it was cool. People actually brought like their barbecues and stuff.
Yes, we in Chicago, a lot of dance. Know how to have an outdoor party. So
yeah, I think you guys do. Yeah,
even with the ones that are in Millennium Park, people bring they bring their little picnic gear and wine and whatever, and are hanging out in the grass area, and which is how I do it because it's free. The lawn is free. And you can hear, some first time I ever heard, and I know we're getting off topic, but the first time I heard, who's the Puerto Rican salsa trombonist, famous
jazz guy?
God, and Jesus. And he had a singer for a while who had the most famous, most beautiful voices ever. Oh God, I'm going to go crazy if I can't think of. And I have his records. Jeez,
he's a jazz guy.
No, this is salsa. This is Willie Colon. Yes, Willie Colon.
Head Topo for the rescue.
Head Topo for the rescue.
Yes, that was the first time I ever heard Willie Colon, and it was weird because I went not knowing who was there, and then there was the opening act, and there weren't a whole lot of people in the park, but towards the end of the opening act, the park just got, I mean, it was just people just jamming in there, and it was the coolest, funnest music and biggest party. It was such a great time. And then I went out and bought it. I bought 3 Willie Colon records.
Nice. Well done.
Yeah. All right. Well, then it's not my turn. It's Chris's turn.
All right, so I'm going to show another CD. This is a band from Springfield, Missouri, kind of an indie pop band, active from about 2005 to 2015. The band has a terrible name. Let's see if you guys like this name or not. The name of the band is Someone Still Loves You, Boris Yeltsin. Yes, it's a ridiculous name. The album's called Let It Sway. They had like 5 albums. They were all on polyvinyl. And I had one of them, and then a few years ago, they put everything on sale, and so I picked up all of them. At some point, I might do a ranking the albums of this band. That should get me about 10 views on YouTube. But it's pretty pleasant indie pop of its time. So, and I think the cover's kind of cool. And there's the inside. And some really, really small print. And
yes. I'm gonna have to buy a magnifying glass. I think
so.
Yeah, I've seen some people on the VC with magnifying glasses. They have it kind of off to the side,
Yeah, that is like so grandpa though.
Well, you got to do what you got to do.
I know. I know.
Well, some of the people that are around our age are literally grandpas. So
yeah,
yes,
that's true too.
That's true. I mean, I am already a great uncle. So
yeah.
I'm not just an uncle. I'm a great uncle. I'm a great
Congratulations.
Yeah. So you know what? There was something else I was thinking about when you were talking, Chris, and now I forget what it is. So maybe
Boris Yeltsin.
Yeah, the title of that band made me think of this Prague band that has a ridiculous name of their band too. You will know us by the Trail of Dead, our Trail of Dead.
Ridiculous as in way too long.
Yeah, right. And when I bought that record, which I like, I always thought that was the name of the album. Because who would call themselves, a band with an album with a name that you probably can't even fit on a marquee,
Yeah. I've seen it abbreviated as SSLYBY, but who knows that?
Well, fans, but yeah, really, not very good.
Was that like a one and done band, or did they have a?
No, they had like 5 albums. I have them all. This is about the middle of their run, so I think it was exactly the middle of their run. I think it was the 3rd of 5, and so they haven't put out anything since 2015. So I don't think they're still around. I know one of the guys from the band has a band called Dragon in 3 now. So, which is not quite as bad of a name. So,
well, you will know us by our Trail of Dead. That number one, it created. All right, do I file this under Y? How do I catalog this because of the damn long name? But they have several albums. And with that long ass name. But anyway, what do you got for us there?
All right. Well, since we were talking about cassette tapes, I think I'll do the tape round this time. I just got 3, and it's kind of interesting. They're all noise tapes, by the way. Very harsh noise. This is a difficult listen for sure. I got quite a few things in my collection that are called a difficult listen, I guess. But it's kind of interesting because I think this must be around the year that I first started buying cassettes again. Going to punk shows was maybe a little later. I started off with like buying experimental tapes because this genre was really only on cassette, and I kind of fell in love with cassettes again too. So this one here is Heirloom, the Ingoing, and this is from the States. Most of these are from the States, or they might have a little bit of a European connection. This is on House of Alchemy. And actually on the inside, it says this was recorded at Bird Park in West Buffalo. So coming out of Buffalo, New York. It's pretty heavy noise, but there's a few little intricate things going on in the background here and there. Now you notice I put a sticker on the cassette because a lot of these tapes, they just send them with nothing on it. And then of course, if this tape gets mixed up from the case, I'll never know where the hell the tape is. So that's a
What
little
are they
thing.
thinking? Were they just as stoned as their listeners when they put these out?
Well, I don't know. And I don't know how many, I mean, like there's been even more tapes since 2010. Maybe this was still fairly rare, I think, at the time, 2010. Although some of these artists, if you look them up on Discogs, wow, there's the last one I'll show. He has a lot of tapes put out. This one is called Rusted Wreck, Dead Metals. And this is on the Hermitage Tapes label. Now, this one I just decided to write on it. You know, there you go. I don't know if that devalued the, they're all retailing for about $10 still. So they have not gone up in value, these noise tapes. This one, just a photocopy, nothing on the inside. And two sides here. Side A is Dead Metals and side B is Deaf Metals. And this group, Rusted Wreck, is a duo. It's a guy from the United States and a guy from Spain. The guy from Spain actually runs a noise label as well. So I guess they kind of met up, did a collabo, and put out the cassette. So I've got a copy. And this is really extremely harsh wall noise. So this is kind of like if you put on static from the television and cranked it through a whole bunch of noise pedals, you get an idea there. You can put it on the background.
Would it also qualify as what they call musique concrète?
It would, but I mean, it's a little bit more harsher and abrasive and more punk, I guess, because I think that would be the difference. Is like musique concrète is a little bit elitist, you know, like Stunty comes to mind, but you know,
Nurse with Wound.
Shout out to Stunty. But yeah, musique concrète, right? It's like kind of almost academic, you know. These guys are kind of a little bit more from the street. Now, having said that, a lot of synthesizers are very expensive nowadays and boutique, etc. But these guys were like, I've seen noise shows where a guy just shows up with a fucking busted tape Walkman, runs it through a shitty ass mixer he found for free or something at a thrift store, and that's it. That's his whole setup, his or her whole setup. You know, so it's very punk. I would say like noise scene is kind of the most punk there is. That being said, a lot of punks don't like noise, but you know, people are narrow-minded with their thing. What did Tommy say there? He had a band.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Everyone's pulling out the longest band name that they know.
Oh yeah, I hate long band names, I gotta say. So I have a noise, spoiler alert, I have a noise show coming up. I will post some video, live video from that on January 14th. I'm these days I'm doing a little bit more what I would call drone versus harsh noise. So I'm a little bit quieter, kind of more mellow, ambient. But there's some artists here locally that just full on noise. You got to have the earplugs as soon as you walk in the door. And why is that a good scene? You're probably asking yourself. Yeah. It's expression. It's expression. It's absurdist. It's a bit Dada-esque, right? I mean, it's anti-music. It's like, fuck all this. Sometimes it's very emotional, like you're getting through. It's cathartic, you know, like people who have burns, you know, like people who burn things. It's kind of to release energy. So for all these reasons, I really am attracted to noise. And then listening to it on tape is kind of a whole other experience, but it's very collectible to have them on the cassette. I guess the cassette is also to document or sort of an archival of whatever happened live. This is a shock value.
I have heard noise pieces in small doses, and I can manage it and appreciate it in small doses. I could not imagine going to an entire show. You know, I would be there for maybe a half hour and then I'd leave.
It gets trancy though, like if you have the right ear protection, I will say, but you kind of, sometimes there's a good hum going on in there. It's right. Very droney in a way, right? Like it's loud and abrasive, but then you sort of, and what I really like to listen for is like little intricate things that are happening within the noise. I mean, it is equivalent of going to an art gallery and looking at Jackson Pollock, right?
Yeah.
You're like, what the fuck is that? My dog can fucking do that. Well, your dog didn't do that, and there was a point. It was conceptual art too, right? Okay, last guy. Speaking of conceptual, so this is the most conceptual maybe of the bunch. You guys will recognize that album cover.
It's a little.
Born in the USA. So this is a guy, Emile Bulio, whose real name is something else. It's what's his name now? Ron Lassard from the United States. Got this 8 years ago. So inside, he's written a whole note. Looks like a hostage note. It says, I was born July 5th, 1957 in Manchester, New Hampshire. I currently live in Lowell, Massachusetts. This is a tape of me sitting in my home practicing my new material. I hope you like it. And it's on Hospital Records, that's their logo. So Hospital Records is still going, quite well known in the underground scene. They put out a lot of synth and some harsh industrial techno. The label owner is Dominic Furno, who also records as Vatican Shadow. Have you heard of that? So they actually put a sticker label on one side. I tend to do that with my tape label. I just put a sticker on one side because I'm cheap like that. I don't want to spend for the second side.
Well, I don't mind that with releases, that at least if you identify which side is side A and side B, and if you only put it on one side, I'm cool with that.
So that's my noise tapes from 2010.
All right.
Sometimes they repeat the same program on side A and side B, just to round that out. But yeah. Long band names still coming.
In German, though.
Well, that is obvious. Come on.
Well, it's in German, so it's a single word.
Yeah, that's just one word.
Yeah. Well, and the Germans are famous for that kind of thing. Ostsonnensuppen Würfel machen
crabs. I like to go to the waffle store and eat some crabs in German. Because I noticed in German they put like a whole sentence, like Chris was saying, in a one word, right? So
yeah, right.
You make a word out of like a whole phrase. It's cool.
The Japanese do that as well.
Really?
They have a word that it's a very long word. I can't remember it, but I like the word that describes the emotional feeling of eating when you're not hungry, and the literal translation is eating because your mouth is lonely.
And they have a word for that.
Yes.
Okay.
I think I do a little too much of that.
Yeah, we all.
All right. Well, now I'm ready to show my.
It's an obscure tour. Yeah, obscure round.
You never know what we'll talk about on these live streams. That's why you got to watch the whole thing. Totally. All right. So my first vinyl release, and it's still the only one I have from this band, but I would very much like to get some more. Just hasn't been high on my list, but Budos Band. And this is their third release, Budos Band 3. This is some serious funk. This is, and with horns, that just incredible. The first time I heard this was in my local brew pub, which, nicely, the owner and manager of the pub curates a lot of really good music that they play, have playing in the background. And I have discovered a lot of music by, hearing something when I'm there and then saying, who is this? What is this? What just played? What just played? And then I'll go look it up and find this. But man, this is, and I'm a saxophone player, and the Barry sax player on this is outrageous. He is just freaking incredible. And I played Barry sax too. But yeah, this is a holy smokes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12-piece band. 12-piece band. And they are just kicking out some great jazzy funk tunes. And this is one of those albums that I am so happy with it that, sometimes you get reluctant to buy another one by a band because you love one release so much that you're afraid you're going to be disappointed, kind of situation. But if anybody is familiar with Budos Band and would recommend the next one I should listen to, because that's one of those situations where I've been reluctant to listen to it. But damn, this is just some. They do a couple covers here, because and they, for example, the last song it's Day Tripper, but they print it backwards. But it looks like most of the other songs on here are all compositions by them. God, just really super great stuff. Love Budos Band. So,
I'm gonna look them up. Yeah, it's on Daptone, right? Yeah.
Yes, it is. It's on. This one's on Daptone. I'm not
It's
sure.
a good label.
If and it's not that it's like hard to find. I don't necessarily see it. Every once in a while I'll see something by them, but again, I've got that like trigger shyness of, God, I really love this Budos Band number 3. Is that, am I going to be disappointed by these other ones? It's an irrational fear. Okay, I admit that it is an irrational fear. I should just.
You got to be.
Record.
Well, you got to be into like soul, jazz, funk fusion for them. Like,
and I am. I mean,
so it's in your wheelhouse. You're gonna like it. You're gonna like it. Yeah.
Oh, now Tommy's got another one there. Concenturva Musiki Commisio. Is that finished?
Yep. All finished to me.
Yeah, it looks pretty finished.
That's like listen to cassette music on cassette players.
Concenturva Musiki Commisio. Then, of course, you got to have that.
Let us know in the comments below how good we're doing with our translations.
Yeah, I think I'm like 50% there.
But the pronunciation, because you got to get that,
Yes, they have an extra little something there, don't they?
Yeah,
they do. Finland.
With Finnish words, but wow, that's pretty amazing. Okay.
So wait, Richard, have you bought any more from that band, or was that's
no? I haven't bought anything else.
Was it pricey? I mean, you're down the States, so it's probably pretty reasonable. That's like a $20 record.
As I said, it was at the time that I bought it, $20 record or something like that. It's not a rare thing. It's just uncommon because I don't think necessarily a lot of people know about them. So
show them on your channel. You showed them. That's good.
Yep. And I really like the stuff. All right, Chris.
All right. Well, the next thing I'm going to show, my last CD. This is going to be the most common thing I'm going to show today. So I went to Bonnaroo in 2011, and this band was one of the headliners, and I figured I should be familiar with some of their material. So this is Arcade Fire, The Suburbs.
Heard of them.
Okay.
Yeah. People have heard of this band before. This is still the only Arcade Fire album I own.
And I do not have any Arcade Fire.
Yeah.
Well, you don't need any.
Oh.
I mean, I think it's perfectly decent, but for whatever reason, I've never really had the compunction to buy another Arcade Fire album or get it on vinyl. Seems to be. I probably listen to it once a year, and it seems to be about right for me for Arcade Fire. Apparently, there are like multiple variants of this album cover, but I don't care enough to get them. So.
Yeah, they're very overhyped. What an overhyped band. At least in Canada, I mean, you can imagine.
So
they get awards here, everything.
Yeah. And I want to ask the Peanut Gallery and you guys a question. So I pulled some 7s. Do you want me to show those next, or should I wait till the end to show my 7s?
Well,
I got a couple more rounds, 3 more rounds here.
Yeah, I mean, if I show my albums one at a time, I have 4 more albums to show. So I mean, that's 4 more rounds. So
up to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Totally up to you.
Same for the next round. Yeah.
Yeah. Now with Arcade Fire, and a former colleague of mine, there was this would have
Good
been
point.
maybe around 2012, 13, and that's when they were, they got a Grammy or something like that, and they were kind of piquing my interest, and I was asking him about it, and he said because he was a big fan of Arcade Fire, but he was saying that there were like only that if you unless you really wanted to collect everything that they got, there were really only two records um, that that I should get. And I think one of them was the first one, and then there was maybe one other that he said. But
What was it? That one that I have, or was he?
I don't remember. I remember what the cover looked like for the other one, the first one. So actually, that might be easy to look up.
I think this was their best selling ever. I'm pretty sure. So
Well, with a lot of the best selling album from a group is
isn't
not
necessarily
always.
the best. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the one Vincent's suggesting, I think that was their first one. Funeral.
Yes, that's the one. Funeral is. He told me that. Yeah. Because he thought, no, I don't want to sign up for your email. Just let me get into your website. Damn it. So We Lightning, Reflector, The Suburbs, Neon Bible, Funeral. Yeah, Funeral was one, and I can't remember what the other one was. But even he liked Arcade Fire, he said, but he thought with some of their releases, they were starting to get a little repetitious, formulaic. That was his response to it. I don't know if that's true. Anyway, Jason, what do you got?
All right. Yeah, I was still looking up that Budos band. It looks like I've located a $4 copy, CD copy of that Budos album. So I will pick that up. Okay. I'm going to do a techno round this time. How about a techno round, everybody? Some of my favorites in here, actually. This is a great label, Perk Tracks out of the UK. It's well known now for more like industrial style techno, but they started in the earlier 2000s and they were kind of minimal techno. Techno goes through all these different waves. I won't bore you with all that, but Gohimia is the artist on this single, and the track's called Postmodern. So warm to my heart from my postmodern theory days, but really great, chunky, heavy piece of industrial techno, especially with the remix on here by an artist named Lucy from Italy. This is a cool label as well, Mote Evolver, I think out of the UK for this label. A couple of singles on that label from 2010 that were really good. Techno, just new techno artists. I don't know what we're on to at this point, probably like fourth wave artists from Europe doing some quality stuff. Also European duo on this one. It's Counterpart is the name of the artist. That's very small print, but you'll just have to trust me on that. That's an Italian label. Now, guys, I got an exclusive here for you. Okay, Calvin, this is an exclusive. This is one of my most expensive records in my collection. According to Discogs, this every year solidly for like a number of years I've been checking. This ranks like number 2, the highest selling record that I own. And it's just almost like a throwaway single from the 2010s.
Weird how that happens.
It's a tech house jam. And I mean, I maybe only rocked this single like 2-3 times in sets back in the day. And then it kind of went on a shelf. It's called Calypso EP by Roundtable Nights. And these guys are fairly short-lived. A couple of guys, I think from the UK, just dabbled in house music, had a little fun. I don't think they're active anymore. Probably had a MySpace page at one point. And it is splitting on the bottom because it was just like a single thrown into a jacket on the Made to Play label, which is also kind of defunct now. So I guess it's a little bit hard to get, but at the time it was like you probably could get it at HMV in London, because in London, HMV there, you could buy records and singles even. They had like a whole 12-inch single area. So, yeah, a UK Tech House record. Now, you want to know what it sells for? The highest it sold for is $335. And the cheapest it was sold for was like 56. So even when I rank them by median, it still comes up like number 2, like an average of $200 or something.
For a single.
Yeah, for a single. And that I probably bought for like 15, 17 bucks.
Yeah.
Now that's a good investment, kids. Nah, I don't recommend buying vinyl for investments like comic books. Yeah.
No, there's a single, because I did a video about Delphi Records, I think it was, about the guy who started Delphi Records, because he was the label that Frank Zappa put some of his earliest music on when Zappa was doing his Studio Z thing. And then also some major hit singles were on this label as well. And the guy's name escapes me or whatever, but I did a whole video about him, and that his very first single that he released on his label was the Chicken Grabber, which is just a stupid, silly song. And that single, even if the grading is only G, is going to cost you a lot of money. It's on my want list, that just because I want to have it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not going to pay $300 for a 7-inch single.
What I think happened with this is just that somebody had a hankering for it, and they wanted a copy, and they fucking paid through the nose. I don't know where they get the money. But I'm also quoting Canadian dollars, to be fair. So that was like $350 is like in American $280. It's still pretty high.
Yeah.
I got 2 last ones for that round, by the way.
Okay.
Two last ones for techno. This doesn't even have a sleeve. It's on a Lux Records out of Switzerland. I bought a lot of stuff on this label recently. This seems to be an early one in their catalog, if it's from 2010. It doesn't have a cat number, of course, but that they kind of get into like some cool synth and techno. And anyway, this is one of the best techno records of 2010. This is an album, and I bought it in the UK at Rough Trade. I don't know how to do the camera work here. Rough Trade Records in London. And it's an artist called Conforce. He's from the Netherlands. Now, if Stunty was here, he might know this record. Very Detroit influenced, even though it's a Dutch artist, called Machine Conspiracy. Really cool album. I don't know. It's on Baked Goods, which I think is maybe a UK label. And I don't know if it's been reissued or anything yet, but it's a pretty cool techno album. That's electronic for this round.
All right. And I just looked up the Chicken Grabber. It is Delphi Records.
Okay.
That was I did one of my, and I haven't done one in a long time, on the genealogy of music, to show, connections that artists that you would think would have no connection to each other at all, they do. This was about Delphi Records. And yeah, the band was called the Nighthawks. It's called the Chicken Grabber. And there's one copy available for sale for $129. And its media condition is G+.
Calvin, you're not going to believe this, dude. I have a copy.
You're kidding me.
I don't have a copy of the original. I have a reissue. I just fucking searched in Discogs and Chicken Grabber came up. So on the next round, I'm going to go off camera. I'm going to find my copy. I totally know this song, by the way. It goes,
yeah.
It's like an old school rock and roll song. Yes, rock and roll.
Kind of surf rock maybe, or something like that.
There was a reissue of it, man. If you want to get the reissue, check it out. The Nighthawks.
Yeah. Well,
hilarious.
Maybe the price of that original, because that's the whole point, is the Delphi record label on that. But anyway, all right. Well, here
I'll pull it out. Yeah.
So the one I got here is next one is an EP, the one EP that I have, and I've shown records by Anthony and the Johnsons before. So there is this EP that's called "Thank You for Your Love." That's on this sort of translucent, vinyl. Not a very good pressing because it's one of those records where at the start you get this, that there's something going on with the pressing, and because I go through here and I look, I mean it's transparent vinyl, and which sometimes it's hard to see flaws unless you use a magnifying glass or shine a light through it. But there's no visible mark on it, and that's why I think that there's some kind of pressing flaw that happened. Anyway, secret Canadian label, Rough Trade. It's got 3 songs in side A, 2 on side B, including Imagine. But this is Anthony and the Johnsons before Anthony fully transitioned and then changed her name to Ahoney. And that's it. I do not have any other releases by her as Ahoney. But if you were a big fan of David Letterman and you watched virtually every David Letterman show, you probably saw her performing. She was a repeat visitor to his show and played frequently, and really love her music. It is very different. It's kind of a chanteuse kind of sound, but more, I don't want to say operatic, but it does have, the voice has kind of that operatic feel to it, but it's not, it's not opera. It's not like you're listening to Maria Callas or somebody like that. But it's still really wonderful. And then if someone of my proclivities, the cover's pretty nice too. So anyway, I should try and find some of her releases as Ahoney, because while they're uncommon, they're not necessarily. It is beautiful music. It just really is, but it's not very sought after. So the price hasn't been driven up, although I haven't looked. Watch me. I'll go right now to Discogs and I'll look up Ahoney. And no, that's not even coming. I'm coming up with Alexei Ahonomai. No, that's not who I want to look up. So I'll just look up Anthony and the Johnsons. There it is, Anthony.
I found it.
Oh, you found the chicken grabber?
I did.
So, well, look at that. I don't see any mention here.
And Jorgen found it on YouTube.
We're all about the chicken grabber today. Thanks, Richard.
I'm the only one who doesn't have it.
Clearly.
Well, I don't have it. That was the whole thing that I was bringing up. That I don't have
this
it.
This is the one we're all talking about.
Yes,
on Rooster Records.
Let me make you big here. Hold on a second.
I think you got to make this big. We don't often connect our collections, but when we do it chicken grabber style. And on the back, we got Chicken Rock as well.
Is it by the same person?
No, we've got a split going on here. So this the back side is Chicken Rock by Scott Wood and his band, and the A side is Chicken Grabber by the Night Hawks. And this is kind of a sub label, reissue label of Jazzman, which releases reissue stuff. I don't know how like bootleg this is or not. The catalog number's Titty Shake, literally TT Shake 109. And these songs we're talking about, one is a minute and a half, and this entire chicken grabber is 2 minutes long, because that's how you did it back in the day, right? 2 minutes.
Right. Yeah.
I think I gave this one listen. I was like, I don't think I can play this. I mean, this is stupid, but
yes. So exactly, and that's kind of
it's like a novelty.
right. And Jorgen found it on YouTube.
It is a bit annoying. I think I'll play it in a punk set. I think we'll slip it into a punk set one day and see how.
Yeah. Do a mix in there with something going on.
Yeah, your next mixtape's getting that on side A, buddy.
All right. But yeah, it's one of those things that I would love to get, that just to have, not because I'm going to listen to it. I'll listen to it once and I'll go, Jesus, frickin' H Christ. And then I'll put it away and never listen to it again. But I'm going to be glad that I own it. One of those situations. And yeah, it is a noni that was the name. And yeah, since 2015, that's when she's been publishing her material. So there's a lot of stuff. I just haven't one album.
You'll pull it out for like the 2027 vinyl tag.
Yeah, there we go. And right, yeah,
it'll be useful that day.
She has one album, and there are 250 of them for sale, and they start from 250. So it's not necessarily a highly collectible record or artist, but good music. I just really like the music. All right, so Chris, what you got?
All right, so I'm going to start with the album. So I'm going to show you the one that I posted on Instagram earlier this morning. So it's Go-Go Bordello with Transcontinental Hustle. So you can see our friend Stunty, who's not here today.
Oh yeah, look, there he is.
Cover. Yeah.
Heroin chic look, yeah.
Yeah. That's Eugene Hoots, who's the leader of Go-Go Bordello. But I mean, once I met Stunty, I said, man, he looks like the guy from Go-Go Bordello. So
maybe he was in it. I don't know. What's
that? Oh yeah,
maybe he was in the band.
Yeah. I think this might be Stunty's older
alias
Roma brother from the Ukraine. So, so do you guys know this band or?
I've heard of them. Like, what is their whole shtick? Like, their indie rock.
Basically, their shtick is it's like traditional Roma gypsy music. Right. I know gypsy's a loaded term, but these guys literally called one of their albums "Gypsy Punks."
Yeah.
So, but they're basically mixing like that traditional music with punk, sort of like the Pogues with the traditional Irish music with punk. So it's along those lines. This was probably Rick Rubin produced this album, so this was the album where the label was trying to like push them pretty hard, and I think it's a really good album. I actually have all their albums. They have a new.
They had a minute, that's for sure.
Yeah. They have a new one that they released late last year. I've heard one of the songs, and then I pre-ordered it, and it's supposed to come, I think, next month.
Okay. Wow.
So it's like one of those ones I could have downloaded it and listened to it already, but I'm just waiting for the vinyl to come. Yeah. I've got other things to listen to. But yeah, so he does look like Stunty, doesn't he? I'm not imagining that.
Yeah. No, there's the resemblance is there for sure.
Yeah. The mustache, the hair, even the facial expression. I've seen Stunty do that before.
Yeah.
But good for you for sticking with them. So they're good enough to still look out for them.
Did you say whether the name was a reference to the Russian novelist?
The name Go-Go Bordello. It almost certainly is. So one of the deals with this band is this guy was born in the Ukraine. He's part Roma, and is at some point they immigrated to New York City. And his band, it's been a rotating lineup, but there's been like Russian guys, African people, South American people. They've almost always been everybody's like an immigrant in the band. And so there's a lot of mix of people from all over the world, but he's like the leader of the band, sort of the visionary of the band. So it probably does have to do with the Russian author.
Gogol was also born in Ukraine.
Yeah.
And it would seem to fit because one of his novels is titled Dead Souls.
Yeah.
And another one called The Nose.
Yeah, I think I've read The Nose. He's kind of absurdist, right? Like Gogol.
I have never read anything by him, but because you showed that record, Chris,
Yeah.
I'm gonna look
Think
up.
it's worth taking out the book from the
Yeah, I'm gonna
library.
put it on my reading list.
All right.
Yep. Hey Richard, do you use the library at all, or are you just like you strictly buy used books kind of thing? Or
I used to have a library, card here in Chicago, but I am a book collector. I mean,
yeah, I know.
yeah.
I've seen your videos. Yeah.
So
My wife is all about the library, but she's notorious. Like she keeps the books too late and has to pay all the late fees, and she put it on my card, and then I have to pay her late fees.
and then you might as well just buy the book, right?
Yeah.
Pretty much. She
It's
loves
like,
books.
like the whole collecting thing. So it's like, obviously I collect records, and
Yeah.
like both my dad before he passed away, my stepdad was also a record. He's still alive, so he's a record collector. My mom, when she was alive, my mom was a big book collector.
Oh yeah.
So basically our house was jammed with like music and books all over the place.
Physical media.
Yeah.
So when I get really old and feeble, if I'm lucky enough to get really old and feeble, I can sell my record collection and I can sell my book collection, to live off of, because I've got some rare books that I could dispose of.
Surprising. There's not really a website for rare books like there is for Discogs, right?
Oh yes, there is. Not the catalog, but there's bookfinder.com.
Okay.
And that's where I go to see, where rare books are being sold and what the prices are being asked by the booksellers and the condition of the book, etc., what printing it is, and all that kind of thing. So there is bookfinder.com is a great place to go to find books that that are out of print, but then you can also gauge, your copy, if you wanted to sell it, what would you
to a
want
local
to
bookstore or something? Yeah.
So, that brings us up to you, Jason.
Okay, so how are we doing, by the way, for rounds? Because I got to pace myself here. Like, what do you guys
I
saying?
have 3 more records.
Okay.
I've got 3 more records in my stack of singles.
Okay. Because I've got 3 CDs and I've got 2 records left. I went through. So I'll show maybe 2 records now, and then I've got 3 CDs. So I could do 2 rounds, or I could break up the CDs, 1 CD a round.
Well, like I'm doing at least 3 rounds, so you guys figure out how you want to.
All right. I'll do a 2 for here because they're both hardcore punk. I don't have a lot to say about these ones. So this will be a vinyl LP round. I'll save the CDs for last. Save the best for last. They're kind of the cheesiest stuff is the CDs. And I saw Jorgen's already left us, so I have to.
I drove him out with Stunty's album.
You drove him right out. Oh, geez. I'm just looking for my notes here. Yeah, okay. So this is French hardcore. This is called State Poison. And I picked this up randomly. This is not stuff I bought in 2010, by the way. A lot of stuff I showed I never got in 2010. Got them later. This is really cool shit. And it's all in French lyrics too. I do understand some French. I don't write French, but I can kind of get by. And I have the lyric sheet as well. So kind of a one and done. I don't think they have many, as a lot of hardcore bands are, right? But yeah, I liked it so much that I ended up getting about 3 copies of this. So I actually gifted one to a buddy of mine. It's pretty good, in your face, kind of hardcore. And then this one is from Poland. Speaking of Ukraine and Russia and all that area there, Suffering Mind. These guys went to town with some of the drawings and stuff as well. Kind of crust punk, really, really up my alley. Don't understand any of the song titles here. This is all in Polish. Kind of leans into grindcore as well. Comes with a poster. Now, I've already ranted many times about too much packaging, but wow, what a poster that is. Kind of going anti-church here, I guess, with the monsters. Like you've got a cop, I guess, monster, and then you've got a Vatican kind of monster. Yeah. Punks railing against everything in society, as you need to do once in a while.
Yeah, right? I don't think that's the Catholic Church's favorite album.
No, probably not.
I'm just guessing, but
We got okay.
Which makes it even more potent, considering that
where it's from.
Being Catholic in Poland they're identical.
Yeah, it's a pretty conservative country, right?
Was John Paul's II still alive in 2010? I don't remember when he died.
Might have been.
Might have been Francis.
I really like Francis. He's my favorite. He's so happy all the time. But then there was that mean Pope in the middle there, Benedict.
The one that just died. Benedict. That's what I'm thinking of.
Okay, Pope John Paul II died in 2005.
Okay,
I just looked it up.
There you go. We weren't as sacrilegious with this record here, but as they could have been. Anyway, it says on the cover, authority, religion, the vile bastards of the eternal weakness of mankind, millions of victims of senseless wars, and no conclusions drawn from tragic history. These guys are giving us our dose of politics today, or history lessons.
None of which I can say is incorrect.
That's what I'm saying, right? The punks, sometimes they know what they're talking about, these punks.
That one part of the image on the cover has the papal hat, but it's the U.S. flag.
I see that, yeah.
Yeah.
These guys are just a hot mess of politics. I got to look them up, see if they're still going here. Suffering Mind, pretty fun band. So that's a couple
Polish, though, even though a lot of the liner notes are English.
Yeah, exactly. There's a mix of some English and look at this insert too. Again, I mean, you really got to give it up for the detail. Really nice art.
Hell, I might look this up again. What's the name of the band?
Suffering Mind.
So I just found them on Discogs. Grindcore band from Lublin, Poland. Yeah, they put out an album in 2022. So,
holy shit! I better get on that. My best of 2022 is already done, but yeah. But now, was it new material or was it old material? No, I think it's new.
I mean, I have no idea. I can't look at because I never heard of this band until about 5 minutes ago. So
yeah, I really love grindcore. So grindcore, for those out there, is like really extreme metal, kind of, but it's influenced by crust punk too. So it has these roots of like kind of anti-authority, but like in a punk sense, and crusty in the sense of like it's kind of not lo-fi, but it's dirty and messy.
What do the vocals sound like? Because that's one thing about a lot of metal music that I can't handle the vocals. The music I like, but I can't handle the vocals.
Well, I am of the camp that I like the vocals to be unintelligible and can't understand them at all and growly.
Like somebody's, ripping.
Yeah. So I think like grindcore tends to be more on that death metal kind of low growl vocal, like blah, 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 blah. And sometimes pig squeals. It's a lot of fun. I mean, you just got, dude, it's for the absurdity. Again, for the absurdity of the genre. And by the way, grindcore, they are kind of in on the joke. They do know that it's kind of absurd.
Okay, so the continue on the absurd thing. So I found their profile on Discogs, and then a commenter said this is one of the only, if not the only, band to release everything from 1-inch to 12-inch records. And then if you go into like their miscellaneous, they've released like lathe records and like 4-inch, 5-inch, 2-inch formats.
Grindcore did that a lot. I have like a very small, like 3-inch record. And like it's not a 7-inch, right? It's like it's weird.
Yeah.
And what speed does it play at?
45. They're very short songs, by the way. This is a great band. Again, if you need some like an energy fix, or you're pissed off, or you want to scare the neighbors, throw on some of this grindcore
I wouldn't
stuff.
Scare my neighbor because he listens to that kind of music.
So. No, you fit right in. He'd invite you over for a beer or something, probably now at this point.
So apparently in 2022 they released a 1/2-inch. It's listed as the smallest playing vinyl in the world.
Oh wow.
Wow.
There's a song on each side that are 9 seconds long.
Talk about trivia.
What a band, eh? I'm glad I pulled that, man.
All right. Well, now we're going to go in a completely
not too much politics
direction.
In 9 seconds, but
yeah, not a lot of politics there.
This is a completely different direction. And that is Villagers, which is I first how did I hear about them? I think I saw a video. It's Connor O'Brien, who is the person. He's a multi-instrumentalist from Ireland, Belfast, I think. But when he tours, then with his backing band, that's where the name Villagers comes from. And I happened to catch a video of the song Becoming a Jackal. And I was like, wow, this guy, he's a singer-songwriter like nothing I had heard in such a long time. It really stopped me. So I started looking up more videos. And then I found the video I Saw the Dead. Which is on, both of these are on here. Really amazing. And then it's a 3-sided album. And then the final song, To Be Counted Among Men. Again, just really amazing. All the songs are really good, but these were like the first 3 songs that I had ever heard. He's a folk singer in ways. So even when he's playing with a band, the orchestration is a little on the minimal side. Just he's got these other people that he would record the record and he would play all the instruments, but again, playing live. You should look up his videos. But you can hear, because of him being Irish, there are these references to Catholicism, and there's a lot of I haven't found anything to confirm it, but I feel like he was also somebody who was continuing to deal with depression, because being somewhat personally familiar with this, I really felt what he was singing about and expressing, and there were moments where I was going, yeah, man, that's exactly how it is. And just really incredible. I've got a couple of his records now, and they don't show up very often, but I do pick them up whenever I see them. The one Awayland is another great release, although I only have that on CD. But Set the Tigers Free, another great song on this. So yeah, Villagers. If you are into very, I guess you could kind of call it emo in sort of a way, but it's really very deep folk, very personal folk songs about very mundane things. Like one of the songs is about him riding the bus home and being late, and what he observed on the bus with the other people while standing and waiting for the bus, and it's just really good.
Sounds very depressing, Richard. Are you okay? Do we have to send you some grindcore?
No.
But it was good. It was good songwriting, I guess. You like the whole.
Oh yeah, to me it's brilliant songwriting, and
the Villagers.
So yeah, I would strongly recommend, if you're unfamiliar, just look up a few of his videos. They're easy to find, and there are a couple where he's performing live, and a couple of them are produced videos, whatnot. But yeah, Connor O'Brien is his name, but everything is pretty much under the moniker Villagers. Not the Villagers, but Villagers.
Villagers.
Because apparently there is another band that's called The Villagers or something. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, good stuff. I really, really like that. And this one was released in 2010.
Villagers
I think
Junior.
it's the first one. I think it's
their debut. Yeah. By the way, they do have a MySpace link on their Discogs page.
Villagers do?
Yeah. They have Bandcamp, MySpace, Wikipedia. There you go. From Dublin, indie folk.
Right. Yeah, Dublin. I should look in here the material with the record and see if they make any mention of MySpace with the.
Yeah, they had their latest one was from 2021, and they
really
he's still on that theme. Yeah.
Still putting stuff out. I mean, the insert there's the photo of him. He's kind of a geeky looking guy.
Just like Jonathan Richman.
But all the lyrics and some artwork to go with it. And yeah, but there's no mention here about, there's villagers.com and dominorecords.com, but there's no mention here about MySpace. Yeah, no mention of MySpace.
Oh, okay. Well, but they did have a MySpace page at one point.
Well, I did buy this reissue more recently, so they probably omitted that in the later notes because it wasn't existing.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Richard, are you like me? Like, have you shown anything that you actually bought in 2010, or most of this is like later acquisitions?
I'd have to think about when I bought these. I'd have to look in my Discogs to look at how long it's been in my collection. In 2010, I would say none of them I bought in 2010 because I was one of those people, because I moved around so much, that I ended up trading in my entire vinyl collection for CDs. Right. And I did not start collecting vinyl again until probably 2017. So everything I have, I've pretty much acquired in the last 5 years.
Did you sell some good shit, or?
Yes, I did. Because I got a lot of
stuff.
I was trading in at a store, and I had probably the first 6 or 7 Mothers of Invention Frank Zappa releases, all first pressings, and there were some other ones too that were some early pressings. But I knew the Zappa were going to be reasonably worth some money, and this would have been 1990, mid 1990s. So I mean, I probably got a $40 to $50 credit for each of the Zappa albums.
Yeah,
because I was able to walk out of that store with nearly $300 worth of CDs.
Well, your vinyl collection is probably bigger now than it was then. Have you surpassed your old?
Oh God, yes. I mean, at that time, I had 2. Those old vegetable crates.
Well, I know milk crates, but yeah.
Yeah, these were the vegetable crates, the perfect size for albums. And you could fit a little more than 100 albums in one of them, and I had 2 of those crates, so I had probably around 300 records, and now I have like 1,300 records.
Oh, there you go. You've recovered.
Oh yeah,
from that loss.
So I've recovered what I had. I have not recovered from the addiction.
No, that's for life, buddy.
Yes.
It's fun though.
Yeah. All right, Chris.
All right. Well, I decided to call an audible and go to a depressing album to stick with the theme. So that Juju, Dear God, I Hate Myself.
Oh God!
So there you go.
Oh, I know Juju. Yeah, I know that band.
Yeah. So this is on Kill Rock Stars. I think shortly after that they switched. They're on polyvinyl now. I have one of their recent albums as well. That and this are the only 2.
So even the label is depressive by saying we kill rock stars.
I know, right? Yeah.
You guys know
they did a cool cover of Erasure. I don't know if you ever saw that 7-inch, but I had a 7-inch by them. They did an Erasure cover.
Yeah, I never saw.
It was like synth pop, yeah. But they're kind of indie band, Zuzu, yeah.
Yeah, depressing indie music. And the cover, the cover. I mean, he looks pretty bummed out. The guy's name is Jamie Stewart, if I remember right. So,
yeah, nah, I can't do depressing stuff, man.
Yeah, there are a couple artists who are very notable for that.
it's not even on colored vinyl.
Well, that's 2010 for you, man.
Yeah, but like Bon Iver and some other artists, yeah, sometimes it's a little bit too much for me. But I do really do like Conor O'Brien and Villagers. That's some good stuff. All right, so what do you got for us, Jason?
All right, I'm gonna break these up because I got 3 CDs left. So I guess kind of riffing off the depressing scene. We haven't shown any black metal yet, right? So we got to show some black metal here.
I haven't shown any black metal yet.
Yeah, this is Dark Funeral on the dark tip. Now this is actually a double disc. It comes with a DVD. I've never even watched the DVD. I guess it's live recordings. Dark Funeral, Angelus Extro Pro Eternus. They always try to do Latin, by the way, and then they always screw it up. According to the liner notes that I've read, like they don't quite nail what they want to say, something about a fallen angel or something. I pulled these 3 CDs out for Richard's show, and I actually listened to them again and I was like, what the hell did I buy? But yeah, this is kind of mid-career for this band. So this is like second wave black metal. I prefer the early first wave, which is more raw and edgy and experimental. The second wave is the Norwegians and stuff, and they've kind of controversy. And they've kind of shored up the sound, like a lot of blast beats, really high pitch vocals, and just a wall of noise. But this is a wall of like bright noise. Oddly enough, earlier when I was playing the noise tapes, I played one the other day like at a low volume. It just sounded like it was heavy metal, actually. But this one I put on is a difficult listen at first. I will say it's only 10 songs, which I do appreciate. It's not too long. But the lyrics are absolutely stupid. And the first song is called The End of the Human Race. So I think that kind of riffs off your depressing Stigmata, My Funeral, Demons of Fire. The thing with black metal is it's repetitive. I mean, I guess we could say any genre, they repeat themes, right? But obviously Satan, 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 a little anti-Christian. And guess what? A love song, well, a sex song. It wouldn't be love. Come on. It's called My Latex Queen. Now, I had to spend about an hour on the couch looking through Wikipedia pages to read up on Anton LaVey's Satanic Bible to put all these lyrics in context and figure out what the hell this was all about. Probably an hour I'll never get back, right? Yeah, it's pretty pointless. But anyway, I messaged my metalhead friends and they're like, yeah, it's all a joke anyway, so it's good. Juvenile. Here's the deal. It's juvenile lyrics, but this band at this point, these guys are in their 40s. I don't know, I guess you can still have a laugh in your 40s, right? My Latex
Queen. Sometimes have to wonder.
Yeah, I mean, let's just see. Okay, and you've got to keep in mind here, thick European accented vocals. I got to show here. Corpse Paint, and like they actually published the lyrics, which, by the way, I don't recommend that you ever read any heavy metal lyrics, really. You will either be disturbed or you will have a good laugh. So I did a video. Okay, wait a second, Chris. Listen to this. Okay. My Latex Queen, feel my tongue in deep. Whirls around, climax is almost found. I rise to my feet. I mean, this is just so Latex Queen, so sweet. Oh, it just no.
Yeah. This reminds me. Somebody had a thread last year about stupid lyrics. And what I did for it was I did a video where I just did a deadpan reading. It wasn't death metal. I was doing like commercial. I was doing like Def Leppard and stuff like that, right, like real commercial stuff. But I was just doing a total deadpan reading of like Pour Some Sugar on Me and stuff. And it sounds so stupid.
Yeah. Well, especially like an album like this where the problem with these guys is they kind of take themselves seriously. Like they sort of present fairly serious. Anyway, I have other issues with the record too. It's kind of overproduced, and anyway, not a great find. Probably pass that one on.
Yeah, I see. I enjoy listening to the Japanese metal band Ninganisu. And they've been around since like the 1980s. In fact, they've created the genre called grandpa metal. Because it's the bassist and guitar player have been together since the 1980s. The drummer has been with them for most of their career. But I do like the music. It is repetitive in some respects because I ended up buying a compilation CD package that costs an arm and a leg.
Well, sadly enough, of the 3 metal CDs I pulled from 2010, this was actually the best of the 3. I'll just leave it at that for now. But
I think I read some of the translations for Ninganisu, and it wasn't quite as
Raunchy is
sophomoric as perhaps others are, but the music and their playing is so good, and just their voice, even though I don't understand what they're saying, works together really well for me. So I've always enjoyed it.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Okay. So I have two more. So I got one here to do, and this is a blues group that I never heard of. I've told this story before. I never heard of them until I was on vacation in like 2017, and I was in this bar. In the morning, this bar is a coffee and pastry shop, and at night it's a bar, and which is to me a great business plan.
Yep.
And they have, and the reason I was going there after my day of traveling around and sightseeing is they had they had plugs under the on the bar, so there were plugs by every chair, plugs also by the tables, great Wi-Fi. So this was a very, very, Wi-Fi friendly place. And they were playing some music, and I'm like, damn, who is this? Wow, this is new. They had this kind of ZZ Top sound to them. And they told me who it was, and it was the Black Keys.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, is this a new band? And the guy looked at me like, no, they've been around for like almost 20 years. And I'm like, oh, damn, I've never heard of them. So good old Patrick Carney and Dan Auerbach. And this is, I bought the CD as well. The CD is kind of weird in that or maybe it's the album. The label on the album changes. And I don't think I could make it here, but it looks like this. But I have noticed that while playing, it goes black, or maybe it's the CD that does that.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting.
Is that their debut?
No. This was released in 2010, and their debut was much earlier. I have 3 of their records, and I'm not sure if the earliest one I have is actually their debut. I have Rubber Factory, and then I have an earlier one. I can't remember now what it is, or maybe Rubber Factory is the earlier one. But great. Black Keys. I'm like, how did I miss this? But then
I was late to the party as well. I bet you Chris was on it right away, though. Chris, you knew about them right away.
I'll be honest. I'm a White Stripes guy, not a Black Keys guy.
White Stripes camp.
Yeah, very, very similar, right? And
the two camps.
Yeah, right. I mean, I'm not nearly as strident about it as say Jack White, but
right. Yeah, I imagine he is. Yeah,
but that's kind of the same thing. The White Stripes.
It's also kind of like Detroit versus Ohio, I guess. Akron versus Detroit.
And White Stripes came out earlier, maybe 1998 or something like that. Yeah. And I think Black Keys came out later.
Album. Yeah. So
they sound different. I mean, they're really not the same.
Yeah.
Right.
But
they're both minimalist, like two-piece band, blues rock. Yeah.
Right.
But love them both, really. They're both
the big come up was the debut for the Black Keys. And that was 2002. But the other ones I have is Thick Freakness from 2003 and Rubber Factory from 2004. But anyway, yeah. So I just learned about them because I was sitting in that bar, working on my photos, from the day and posting them and that with my laptop and drinking a beer, or I was probably drinking a cocktail. That's, when I heard it, first time I ever heard it in the Flagstaff bar. So
good rock and roll.
Black Keys, good stuff. I like it. What you got coming there, Chris?
All right. So first of all, I'm going to show some 7 inches. What's the stream's policy on female nudity?
Do it fast.
Well, You see,
You're gonna show
The cover with naked breasts. So
well,
do it fast, I guess, because you know
we can always cut it out
issue
later.
with it. And I don't think we're going to get flagged because of it, because I think people. I mean, Facebook. If this was Facebook, it would be a different story. They're a lot more strict about nudity, but there's
there you go.
Faux pas.
Faux pas. So this is something I blind bought recently. It's it's Norwegian noise, and
Sounds up my alley.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's up my alley, to be honest with you.
yeah.
But
I'll trade you. Is it noise punk, noise rock, noise?
Yeah, it's noise. So yeah, so and I mean the labels all in Norwegian, and the lady on the cover is quite attractive, and
yep, done, sailed.
So it was a few bucks. I think I paid $3 for it. Oh, and then here's the label. So how do you know which song is which?
And can you tell by looking at the runout groove? Because I've had to look at runout grooves at times to figure out which side is which. But that doesn't always tell you either.
An A or B. Yeah.
No, there is an A and a B if you look closely. But I have an album that's like this, where there's nothing in the dead wax, has nothing in it. So
yeah.
And then we've got this is somebody called Derek Lynn Plastic. So he's kind of a smart ass punk. So I think he was from Florida, if I remember correctly. Local to me from Paducah, Kentucky, we have Teenage Rehab, Abuse Your Solution. This is pretty 90s pop punky.
Okay.
So, and we've got Super Wild Horses. This is pretty garagey. If you guys know, Jason, you probably know the Hozak label.
Yep. I have some stuff on that. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a Hozak label.
Garage rock, garage punk.
Yeah, it's a garage punk. And then we've got the Nerve Scheme with Punk's Not Punk, because it's not punk to be punk, apparently. And I haven't listened to this in a while, but my memory is that they're basically smart asses. So, so that's my quick punk 7-inch. So
I like that cover of that last one you showed. I mean, that's worth getting just to put in a frame and hang on the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be a nice little picture. No grindcore in there, no hardcore.
No, I don't have much. I don't have much grindcore at all. I have one from the year 2000 that has probably the most offensive picture sleeve of any record I own.
Okay, yeah.
So I'll leave it at that. It's a band called Knife Through Head.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I don't know.
Gory. Yeah.
No. It wasn't offensive because of goriness on the cover.
Oh, okay.
All right. Okay. All right. Moving on, Jason.
And on that note,
on that.
Well, I'll keep on with the poor taste selections.
Oh, okay.
This is a real dud. This is probably the duddest of the dud today. Cradle of Filth. Kind of a well-known. I guess they started as black metal,
I've heard of this band name before.
Yeah, I've heard of them.
They really became pop. I'm going to say this is like pop black metal. The best way to describe this album is if Walt Disney decided to do black metal, I think. So here's a clue. They're from the UK.
Was that segment from Fantasia? Because he did do that.
Look at this stuff. They're from the UK, so they're very theatrical. I mean, if you like Queen and you like some theatrical mixed in with your heavy metal, I think this would appeal, and would also appeal to any 6 or 7-year-old who's into Disney movies. There's kind of a creep factor to it all. I mean, it's obviously a little bit horror, but man, it's cheesy. It's symphonic. Okay, maybe you don't want a 6-year-old looking at that stuff, but this is look at the lyrics, by the way. I didn't read any of these, but apparently the guy really likes to write like long-winded storytelling lyrics. I mean, this is just, I don't know. It's kind of garbage.
If you're a Cradle of Filth fan, please make comments. And
oh, I know. I don't want like I know we're gonna get like a ton. We're gonna get a ton of Cradle of Filth fans. Like, and you know the funny thing is, I was watching a metal VC metal stream yesterday that I really like, and guess what record they pull out to discuss? A Cradle of Filth album. Wasn't this one? Now I've been told by my metal buddies that the earlier Cradle of Filth is okay. It's better. This is around mid-career, 2010, and yeah, it was a blind buy. It was like $7.99. So I was like, you know what? I've heard of them, and I'm collecting metal right now. I'll try them out. I don't think I ever even listened to it until this video. So thanks, Richard. The album's called Darkly, Venus Aversa. You know what? I mean, you guys, somebody else might like this. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I don't know.
That was very imaginative title.
It is. It's
Darkly,
theatrical.
Venus Aversa. What the?
I know. Like they really go into the whole thing. Okay, some of the song names: The Cult of Venus Aversa, Retreat of the Sacred Heart, The Persecution Song, Deceiving Eyes, The Spawn of Love and War. I mean, this is like a musical. It's the best way to describe it. But kind of black
heavy metal musical. I'd like to see the staging.
Yeah, it's just a bad era too. I think it's really bloated and overproduced. Like I like my metal and my punk to be really raw and like lo-fi, and this is like the opposite of that. It's
right.
Like big budget kind of thing. Too big. Just too big. Anyway, my last CD is also a very large scale kind of production band, but I'll save that for the next round.
All right. Well,
Cradle of Filth in 2010.
I do have, this is my final one, and interesting story behind this. Okay. Fans of this band, as I said at the beginning, fans of this band generally tell other people who are new to the band to skip this recording altogether. That it's and they've got a big catalog. They're very well known. They just released last year a brand new record, and they've been around. I should have looked up when did they first release their first record? Their first record was released in 1996. So this is a band that's been around for a while. But this is the first record I ever got for them, and I bought it because of the cover. All right, I'm a trashy gay guy, so there are some things that I will, buy simply because, cute guy on the cover. So that's what I did. Spoon, Transference. So this is the least liked release. And I can kind of understand why, because the songs are disjointed. And what's interesting is they intentionally, I saw a video that went into the background on this record. And it was pointing out that the band intentionally created a record of songs that they purposefully messed with the production, or they were like unfinished in some way, weren't very refined. Because when you go to a Spoon concert and they play anything from this record, it sounds really good because it goes with their whole sound with everything. It sounds really polished and everything. But on the record, the song sounds really different. Even coming down to the sound staging with instruments in some of the songs. But I always kind of liked this record, even though there were these elements that I'm talking about that kind of annoyed me. Like there's this one song that has a very protracted piano piece where he's just playing the same notes kind of over and over again with this intensifying background. And I keep expecting, okay, he's going to cut loose any second now with a really kick-ass piano solo. But then it never happens. The song ends, So, but again, I do really like this. And then the guy that did the video about this was kind of explaining, all right, so you look at the cover, and he described it as some guy, visiting family. I didn't even make myself big here so we can see the cover better. that he's probably visiting family in like a grandma or great aunt's home, old fashioned furniture or something like that. You can kind of see over here a female character who is probably, just looking at, you can tell by the hands, it's an older person. And he's kind of sitting there going, why am I here? Kind of thing. He's got that side eye glance going on and sitting in this wingback chair. My initial reaction was he was sitting in a brothel because of the decor, and a lot of women, particularly, this is a San Antonio band, but a lot of women, European women, particularly in Britain, like to decorate their homes with this, kind of decor, kind of over the top Victorian kind of whatever.
Yeah. I think it's more like I was thinking like he's visiting family, like you
right,
said,
right, yeah.
But he's just bored,
yeah,
and he's not having it, kind of thing.
Right. And then you've got the title Transference, and so you've got this, that he's just kind of feeling like, like kind of whatever, what's going on here? How do I fit into this picture? And then you read the definition of transference, which is a term from psychoanalysis, and it means the phenomena of which somebody takes their feelings or attitudes or desires, and they subconsciously project those feelings into what's happening right then and there around them. And it can happen effectively during therapy, or it can happen inappropriately, in which the transference onto your therapist turns into an inappropriate relationship. So,
wow, you're going deep there, Richard.
Yeah, I think
on this album.
When
that everyone told him not to get.
Yeah. But it gave me now I kind of understand more about why I like this record.
Right.
Is that their intention of creating this disconnected and fractured songs are really this, does create a sense of maybe isolation or something like that, misunderstanding. And now I have an even greater appreciation of the album. But seriously, for most Spoon fans, they say they skip it altogether. You go at various websites where they rate records. It is clearly the lowest rated record in their catalog by both fans and by critics.
Selling for $1.35 on Discogs.
Yeah.
It's pretty low.
And
CD,
but I like it. And
I'm going to check it out.
It led me to want to collect more Spoon. And there is a definite difference between this record and their other releases. Although which one is it? We did this on the Gunkles recently. A review of Kill the Moonlight. And Kill the Moonlight kind of struck me in a similar way that Transference did, is that, I like what's going on here, but there are some other issues where it seems unrefined.
I've never heard of this Spoon band. I've heard of the Spoons, very different band.
No.
But Chris, do you know this band? Like, this is in your wheelhouse, kind of?
This is one of those bands that I know by name, but I haven't listened to. They've been. I know they put out an album last year that I know a lot of people talk pretty highly about.
Yeah,
you saw it in like various top records of the year videos. So they're sort of on my radar, but I haven't listened to them. So
I love the whole dissecting of the cover art thing, and then like you said, the songs kind of take on that as well. So interesting. Check it out.
Right, because you think of the song titles. There's it opens with a track called Before Destruction, and then the next one is Love Forever, and then the Mystery Zone. The Mystery Zone is one of those, again, really kind of, just written in reverse. Who Makes Your Money?
Yeah,
I Saw the Light. To me, these are all really good songs, And then it closes with a song called Nobody Gets Me But You. So, yeah, there's that transference kind of going on there, with that song title. So anyway, I like it. To me, it's a great album, but it is also a frustrating listen because of those intentional things they did with the songs, where they end them abruptly, or they set you up for something else to happen, and then it doesn't happen. Anyway, that's it for me. What do you got, Chris?
All right.
Okay, so I've got 2 albums and a few 45s left. Should I do them all at once or come back around?
I only got one. My next one's my last, so we can come back to you if you want.
Yeah,
Okay,
we can split it into 2, and then we'll come back to you.
I'll show one album now, and then I'll show everything else quickly at the end. Does that sound okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, so this is one of my favorite albums from 2010. It's sort of by an Americana alt country singer named Caitlin Rose. The album's called On Side Now. The Gunkles, when they had in the Gunkles contest, this was the album that I recommended to Craig because I know he likes Dolly Parton. And the thing with Caitlin Rose is she sounds like a classic country singer. She's got a sort of Patsy Cline-ish sort of voice. Her mother's a well-known country music songwriter, writes for like Taylor Swift and those types of people. But like when she was a teenager, she got into like alternative and punk. So she's got kind of that, even though she sounds really classic country, she's got sort of that punky alternative attitude, and she's politically liberal. So she cannot be part of the mainstream country society because of that, because they're very split that way. But, and she really, there's a really good song on here called Shanghai Cigarettes. It was a duet with a guy named Raylan Baxter, who's very good in sort of that Americana realm as well. So, and again, I recommended it to Craig because I thought that would be something he'd like. And then I'll do my other ones at the end.
Yeah,
is Craig the guy that used to be on the radio in the Gunkles?
No, that's Robert.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah,
guy.
that's Robert. Yeah,
it's great. I mean, I like all of them, but yeah.
The one you had recommended for me, the American football, I've listened to a few things by them. Yes, you made a good choice with that one.
Okay, cool.
Very Americana country music. It's not. It's popular in Canada, obviously, country.
Yeah,
but I don't believe Europeans listen to country music much, Hey?
Caitlin Rose is actually more popular in the UK than she is in the United States.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, and then if you watch the channel of the fat bearded old man or fat bearded man, I forget his name.
Headley or Hadley?
Headley. Yeah, he almost exclusively talks about country and folk, and he's quite a.
And he's from the UK?
Yeah.
Okay. Because, the UK does not have country stations and, radio.
And the thing about, like, Caitlin Rose and some of the other people I like of that ilk, like Sturgill Simpson and Margot Price, is they don't have, like, the super sappy, bro country, horrible lyrics that make me want to rip my hair out.
Right. That's the kind of country I don't like either.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mind music, like the Jayhawks or, even the band,
because I said this disparagingly, but at some point I said that modern mainstream country music basically takes all of my least favorite aspects of like arena rock, hip hop, and classic country, all the things I hate about those genres, and mixes them together.
Yes.
I actually don't mind it that much. I mean, I kind of like the pop country. Like, it's funny because sometimes I'll like listen to it maybe in the car, and then like that station comes on, and like minutes pass, and like, wait, I'm listening to country.
Yeah. Well, I live in Kentucky, and you hear it a lot when you're like go to restaurants or stores, and it's like
that's true. You're in deep country there. Yeah.
So, and the alternative Americana more pulls out the stuff that I liked about classic country.
Right.
So
right. I like the classic country artists, Bob Wills and the Texas Playboys and Marty Robbins even, and Johnny
Charlie
Cash.
Daniels Band.
Huh? What?
Charlie Daniels Band.
When I was
went
in
down to
high
Georgia.
school, when I was in high school, I liked Charlie Daniels until that album with The Devil Went Down to Georgia.
Oh, I love that song as a kid. When I was 5 years old, that was my jam, man. Devil Went Down to Georgia.
No.
What a party tune that was. I am actually on the hunt for a country record. I really want to get Kenny Rogers' early stuff in the 60s when he was psych rock. He has that one
the
hit.
Fifth Dimension.
Yeah. I just came in to say hello or something as a song, and I really want to get that.
I have a compilation.
I think it's on a CD. Yeah.
The first edition. What is it? The Fifth Dimension or the first edition?
It's so cool, man. He was a 60s.
But I have the greatest hits because that one song that almost kind of sounds like a Guess Who song. I spied what my condition was in. He was definitely more rock. But now I always
found his groove. He found his calling. And my grandma used to love Kenny Rogers.
I keep messing up the name of the band, whether it was the fifth edition or first edition or the fifth. I can't remember.
Yeah.
I gotta find that.
Kenny Rogers records from the 70s and early 80s are super easy for me to find.
Oh yeah, those are easy. But that song is not easy. I always look on the back
you're
of
talking
covers.
About isn't easy to find, but like the stuff that he made became famous for is like
Gambler, Know When to Hold 'Em.
Those were tolerable for me, at that time. But
I have a greatest hits comp of him, and I think that's sufficient.
Yeah,
probably is.
Yeah. He's one of those where the greatest. Although I wouldn't mind getting that debut record if I could remember the name of the damn band. Anyway, what do you got, Jason?
I was just gonna say on the Kenny tip, I have a Kenny Rogers album. I have the one with Islands in the Stream, the Fugees. The Fugees did a cover of that. That was a great song. I think that's with Dolly. I think it's Kenny and Dolly maybe. Yeah. Well, for my last pick here on a Kenny theme here, we're going with a pop band, one of the biggest bands of all time, with Iron Maiden, and not a great album by them. Now, the reason why I have this album is because I actually saw them on this tour. I got to see them for the first time, I think, in 2010, and then I saw them again 2 years later. That was kind of an odd thing. You never see a band, and they come to your town twice. It was an outdoors both times, outdoor festival thing. Big production, as Chris can probably say, because you've seen them even more recently. Yeah. I mean, they got the whole pyrotechnics and everything else, staging. Now, on the back, I'm like, cool. It's only got 10 songs. This is good for Jason's short attention span. But guess what? Each song's like 10 minutes long.
I was wondering if you were going there.
Fucking 8 minutes long, man. I put this on again for Richard's show, and I said, I got to listen to it. Now, I put on the first track. The first track is good. I mean, it's really well overproduced, maybe. Like drums. I mean, we got fucking drums going for a minute and a half. Just drums. And then I realized, shit, this is 8 minutes long.
There's going to be a guitar solo.
Yeah, I know, right? So I'm like, this is a good song until I realize it's over 8 minutes long. I'm not even going to get through this song. I never got through the album again. I still haven't got through it.
I was like that when with My Bloody Valentine. I just could not get into.
Chris, what are you saying? You can get through that?
No. I was basically going to say the same thing. So I actually have all the Iron Maiden CDs because I found a guy that was basically purging all his physical media, and I bought them all as a unit. And then the latest one, which came out after I got that, I bought as well. The thing with basically 21st century Iron Maiden is Steve Harris has it in his head that he's prog metal and that he writes brilliant, epic songs because they wrote a couple really brilliant, epic songs.
And he produces all the albums too. So he has no editor. There's no one there to say, Steve, time out.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's the main guy in the band, and what he says goes, and he likes this bloated shit, and he's going to keep doing it. So they had a couple really good epic songs, and like their latest album, Senjutsu, so it's a double CD.
Yeah.
The second CD has like 3 songs on it that are all 12 minutes long. The
Fills the
album
whole
would be
CD.
better if you threw that CD away.
I bought that record, that CD, by the way, and I already sold it without even listening all the way through. There's just no way. I couldn't. I don't have time. I had too much music to listen to spend that much time on Steve Harris.
Yeah.
But yeah. By the way, they never played. I don't think they played a single song from this album on that tour, obviously, because you don't go to Iron Maiden to hear the new album. You go to hear the hits, the old classics.
Right. We paid $150 to hear "Run for the Hills."
Run for the Hills by a 70-year-old up on stage. I mean, that's another thing too. They're getting up there. I don't think they'll be touring for much longer. But
the one classic band that I saw and it was at a state fair of all things, and there were like 3 acts that I can't remember what the third one was, but it was Steppenwolf, and they knew what the audience wanted to hear, and that's what they played. That's what they played, and they played all their hits, and they were so tight. That entire show that they rehearsed, because they knew what the audience was going to expect from them, and so that's what they delivered.
Magic Carpet Ride. Did they also do The Pusher? Wasn't that one of their songs? That was a good song. That's from Easy Rider. I love that soundtrack.
Yeah. So that was a great state fair show. Jan and Dean was one of the other acts.
Wow.
And they were pretty good too. I can't remember. Oh, it was the Supremes, but without Diana Ross. That's who the third band was. Now that I remember.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, what do you got to bring us home there, Chris?
Oh, okay. So the last album. This is something I got as VCLT. I don't know if you guys know Russ Mama's Records. So this is African music. So the group is called The Good Ones, and this is from Rwanda. And so it's folk music, and of course we all know the terrible history, the genocide.
Yeah.
But this is actually sort of upbeat, hopeful sort of sounding music, which is in a sense. I mean, I think if I'd gone through that, I think I would have written the most depressing music ever if I'd been a survivor of that. So I have to admit, this is something I've only listened to a couple times ever, but it's from 2010. And then I'm going to bring it home with some MySpace era pop and sort of tweed pop sort of stuff. So we've got Mecha Normal.
I like them. Yeah, I got some of their sevens.
Yeah, so on Kill Rock Stars Records, recorded by Calvin Johnson at Dub Narcotic Studio. So Gene and David. The song's called, the A-side's called Malachi. It's a pretty cool song. And plus, I think that's a pretty cool cover as well.
Yeah, good artwork. I love their kind of primitive style artwork. They kind of had that throughout.
Yeah.
I didn't know they were still going in 2010, though. I thought they were done by then. But.
No. And then I've got, I don't know if you guys know about Slumberland Records. If you guys know that label, they do a lot. Like if you watch Sam the Vinyl Douche's channel, a lot of like his taste in music, Slumberland Records would be one of the labels that puts out that stuff. And so I bought a mystery box from them. So
I don't know if that's it or not, but yeah, a mystery box. Okay.
I bought a mystery box from them, and some of them were from the year 2010. And so, and all of these have kind of pretty similar sort of visual presentation. So this band called the Spectrals, they're all on this very pastel-y vinyl here. The Summer Cats.
So the label's called Slumberland, and it's like indie.
Yeah, it's all pretty indie poppy sort of stuff. There's a few of the songs, a few of their singles from the 90s were a little bit punkier than these, but these are all pretty indie-ish. And then this is almost like the stereotype of their label. So you got this female lead singer, Tender Trap, Do You Want a Boyfriend?
Yeah.
You got the turntable there. It's on this very nice, pretty white vinyl, purple and pink.
Kind of cliche, eh? Yeah.
It's almost a cliche of indie rock here. The "Do You Want a Boyfriend" is actually a pretty cool song. Of those 3 singles I showed you, this is the best one. So, but
About how many sevens do you have, by the way, in your collection?
I probably got like 1,000.
About 1,000, yeah. Same.
I've got and they're
Richard
not
over
all,
there with 2 that I sent him. That's about it, I think.
right.
Yeah.
They're not all in order, but I've got a couple of boxes of like punk and indie, and I still have punk and indie mixed together. So this will be like sitting next to like this.
Right. Yeah.
At some point, I'm probably going to break punk and indie into 2 separate boxes. But one of those things is when you once you start breaking down genres, then there's always the edge cases. Which one?
Yeah, that could be in both. Yeah.
And then I've
This is it.
Oh, he's got a few.
This is my 7-inch.
You got to keep them going, man. You
Yeah.
got a long way to go here.
I can send you a bunch of 7s if you like.
Send him 7s.
Yeah.
Don't send him tapes though. Apparently, you can't play them.
Yeah.
Poor guy.
But I got some, I got some classics here, like the Left Bank
Yeah.
and Molotov Cocktail.
I love 7s because they're cheap too, right? You can get punk 7s.
That's why I bought so many when I got big into
Yeah.
the thrifting. But it's like it's too easy to rationalize buying them. Oh, I like this song, and
Just try it.
yeah.
This record here was the reason I went to a Cubs game for the first time.
Ah,
Because
that's
this was
cool,
a Cubs
man.
game giveaway.
Wow. Okay. Go Cubs, go! I've been to Wrigley Field.
But I've got some obscure ones here too. Yeah.
I also collect a lot of like 70s, like disco funk 7s, right? For DJing.
I've got
Delta
some.
Hanks,
I've got
you
some
ever
of
hear
those
of
too.
Yeah.
And I've got stuff going back to I've got some stuff from like the 50s and early 60s.
Oh yeah. I love collecting that shit, like Stax Records and stuff. And
yeah,
I get a whole section of that. Then I do have a pretty small 90s section, for like kind of the alt and like
I've got a little bit of that stuff as well. That stuff's not the easiest to find because
that's kind of the more rare stuff.
My problem is it's like I have a ton of 80s pop and mainstream stuff in picture sleeves because it's easy to find, and I have a bunch of 70s stuff because that stuff's easy to find.
Yeah.
That's the stuff where it's like, okay, I pretty much have what I need from those genres at that point. I'm more basically at this point either looking for like punk, or if I could find like surf rock or like rockabilly for cheap, I'll buy that.
Oh, yeah. Or even the reissues of those, right? Because there's a lot of revivalist stuff for rockabilly. Yeah. But those 80s and funk ones, I love those for DJing too, because they're so light. Like if I'm going for a vinyl gig and I can only fit one bag, then I can always have a extra little bag of 45s, right? And cover the hits,
Yeah.
Very cheaply. They're loud.
Give them some more.
Who wants to hear Crocus or Kiss on 45? It'll happen.
Crocus. Oh boy.
There's an 80s rock band. Hard rock.
The Swiss AC/DC.
They had some good moments. They're not going to show up in these videos.
I had a few Crocus cassettes back in the day, but they all fell victim to my I'm in college. I'm a college rock alternative snob now.
Yeah. I don't listen to Headhunter. Headhunter's amazing. That's their best album. I had Skull on the cover. Rendezvous, also another good Crocus album. I digress.
I remember I had the Headhunter. I had the one with the Ballroom Blitz cover.
Yeah. First time I heard Ballroom Blitz was their version, not the Slade or Sweet or whoever did that song. But
Sweet.
I think that was Sweet. No, I think it was Quiet Riot that made their career covering Slade songs.
Yes, and I loved Quiet Riot as a kid. So, I did like lip sync versions of all that Quiet Riot stuff.
Oh, yeah. So recently when I was thrifting, I found a Quiet Riot Metal Health for like $10. I'm thinking, oh, cool. And then I pull out the record. It's the wrong record inside.
Shit.
And it wasn't anything good inside either. It was some like crappy compilation that was.
They reissued that CD and they added like bonus songs. Like, why would you want bonus songs of Quiet Riot? I mean, I don't need alternative versions.
It wasn't enough, right?
I know.
I tend to not to be in the bonus stuff in general.
I know, right? Like it's just junk usually that they tack onto a CD or whatever.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's why with some of the CDs that came out for me anyway in the early '90s, to me, they were because you had that extra time,
Yeah, they
and
filled it.
so they put all this bonus material. Or what also happened is that the records became really long, and then when vinyl came back, that's when we started, I think, getting a lot of three sides and double albums that were three siders. Because
Triple
the
back.
original release on CD, there was that much music on it.
Because I have some three-siders where they'll stick an etching on the four side, or sometimes they'll stick like the B-sides from the CD single on the four side. I've seen that done as well.
That Villagers record that I showed has an etching on the fourth side.
Yeah.
So that was one of those situations. Well, all right, great guys. This was fun, and thank you very much for participating. Thank you all in the Peanut Gallery.
So next week, 2011.
Well, at least 2011. I'll take a look again and see it all. It all revolves around me, and now how many records do I have?
Richard hasn't typed 2011 into Discogs yet.
Yeah, so
start typing now. Maybe pick up a few sevens if you're out there shopping.
Well, I don't have most of my 7 inches. I do not put in. I don't log them in my Discogs.
Okay.
So, but yeah, if I do a quick look at my collection and do 2000, of course, it doesn't help because it'll pull up everything that has some reference to the year 2000.
Yeah, but then you can sort it by year. That's how I did. Search 2011 and then sort that list by year, and you get down to.
Yeah, it looks like Souvlaki Slow Dive. I got that. I got a Haslow recording. I might have Black Angels, maybe. I'd have to double check and see if that's actually a 2011. I don't think it is.
Yeah. I think I'm going to have a similar amount of stuff that I had this time.
Oh, here's a band that not many people know about that I have that might. So I might be able to do 2011 as a standalone year.
Yeah.
I've got a few albums, a few CDs, a few 7 inches. I think it'll be pretty similar to what I did today.
Yeah, sounds good. So,
awesome.
be sure to check out.
I got a Power Violence 7-inch from 2011.
What's that?
The Power Violence.
Power Violence.
Oh, wow.
I think I only
have
a
subgenre of hardcore.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hi, Elliot. We're just about to sign off.
Hey, Elliot.
So if you want to see what we were
check out the rewind. Rewind the tape, Elliot. It was a good one.
Go through that. So, but yeah, thanks, guys.
It's Mrs.
Like Caitlin Rose, Elliot. Check out Caitlin Rose.
2011.
Don't check out
the next episode. And as always, please remember to pray for the people inside your head, for they won't be there when you're dead.